Chapter 224. However, in Xiao Chen's eyes, this was just a small matter. If it wasn't for his father, Xiao Chen wouldn't even look at Mo Feng because his status was too low. He returned home directly. 15 minutes later, Elder Wu, who had finished dealing with Mo Feng, appeared in front of Xiao Chen. Seeing this, Xiao Chen asked indifferently, "Where is senior brother Qin Heng?" In the previous message, Xiao Chen had contacted Qin Heng and asked him to bring 50,000 experts from East Pass City to Lingshan County City. If it was anyone else, it would be impossible to mobilize 50,000 troops without the approval of a ruler. However, Xiao Chen was different. With his status, the Heavenly Pill ruler and the Heavenly Wood ruler obviously wouldn't refuse. In addition, the situation in East Sun region had already been settled, and the 50,000 troops didn't have any missions. Naturally, they would give Xiao Chen face. Hearing Xiao Chen's question, Elder Wu replied, "They will arrive tomorrow morning." "Okay, tell senior brother Qin Heng that the army doesn't need to enter the city tomorrow. He only needs to select 3,000 elites to enter the city. The rest will surround the 30,000 Xiao family soldiers outside the city. Whoever dares to resist will be executed on the spot," Xiao Chen said indifferently. "Yes," Elder Wu replied respectfully and then left the room. After a night of silence, the entire Xiao family was bustling with noise and excitement early the next morning. This was because today was the day of the family meeting. The meeting hadn't started yet, but everyone in the Xiao family could roughly guess the content of the meeting. Time passed slowly. One by one, the 18-year-old direct descendants of the Xiao family arrived outside the Xiao family's main hall. Soon, the originally huge main hall was filled with hundreds of direct descendants of the Xiao family. In the end, Xiao Mu and Xiao Feng appeared together. Now, only Xiao Qing was left. Not long after, Xiao Qing also entered the main hall accompanied by the 5 great elders. Thus, the family meeting officially began. It was unknown whether it was because victory was in his hands or because he was too confident, but when he arrived, he didn't even say a word of courtesy. "Everyone, the purpose of this family meeting is to reconsider the appointment of the family head. I feel that Xiao Qing is not suitable to be the family head. What do you all think?" Hearing Xiao Feng's words, a hint of disappointment flashed across Xiao Qing's eyes as he sat on the main seat. Xiao Feng was his own brother, yet he couldn't wait to pull him down. He sighed silently. At the same time, the great elder sitting on Xiao Qing's left shouted angrily, Xiao Feng's mouth. The first elder's face was full of anger. The 5 elders were firmly on Xiao Qing's side. At the same time, the 5 of them understood that Xiao Feng was digging his own grave by doing this. How could he win against Xiao Chen? Facing the first elder's rebuke, Xiao Feng laughed coldly and said, "First elder, this clan meeting isn't decided by one person alone. It's normal for me to make such a suggestion. Moreover, the ancestral teachings state that the clan leader can be appointed or dismissed during the clan meeting. There shouldn't be a problem with me making such a suggestion, right? Or do you want to go against the ancestral teachings?" Since things had already progressed to this stage, Xiao Feng had clearly shed all pretense of cordiality, following which everyone began a meaningless debate. In the end, it was still Xiao Feng's suggestion to directly start voting. The first thing to be decided was the appointment and dismissal of Xiao Qing as the family head. Whoever thinks that Xiao Qing is not suitable to be the family head, please raise your hand. Xiao Feng was the first to raise his right hand. Then, Xiao Mu and their sons also raised their right hands. At the same time, more than half of the Xiao family's direct descendants in the hall also raised their hands. Seeing that these people were really going to dismiss Xiao Qing as the family head, the great elder's face turned red. His eyes were burning with rage. In the end, he pointed at the crowd and said helplessly, "Stupid, these people had obviously been bribed by Xiao Feng and Xiao Mu." The great elder could only use the word stupid to describe their choice. More than half of the people chose to dismiss Xiao Qing as the family head. Xiao Feng and Xiao Mu were also relieved. Just as Xiao Feng was about to announce the result, a calm voice sounded from outside the hall. I'm still missing a vote in the family meeting, right? Along with this voice, everyone saw Xiao Chun in a white robe walking in slowly. Seeing Xiao Chun, Xiao Feng frowned slightly. But thinking that the result was already decided, Xiao Feng sneered. Xiao Chun, you're too late. Can't you see that the situation is already one-sided? Idiot. Hearing Xiao Feng's words, Xiao Chun said coldly. Then, he ignored Xiao Feng and went to the center of the hall. He swept his gaze across the crowd. Looking at these people who had been bribed by Xiao Feng and Xiao Mu, Xiao Chen's eyes were filled with pity. Just as the great elder said, these people were really stupid. Although Xiao Chan didn't know what benefits Xiao Feng and Xiao Mu gave them, their choice could only be described as stupid. Moreover, it was extremely stupid. You all want to dismiss my father as the family head? Looking at the crowd, Xiao Chan said indifferently, Chun, your father's personality is indeed not suitable to be the family head. We are also thinking for the family. Hearing Xiao Chen's words, Xiao Chen's confidant, who was also Xiao Chen Sr., put on an act. His expression was as though he was really thinking for the family. Extremely hypocritical. However, Xiao Chen wasn't angry. There was no point in arguing with these idiots. Xiao Chen smiled and continued. What about you all? Do you all have the same intention? Are you all determined to dismiss my father as family head? He continued to ask the people who hadn't spoken yet. However, facing Xiao Chen's question, these people all chose to remain silent. However, although no one answered Xiao Chen's question, they still didn't put down their hands. Very clearly, they still chose to stand on Xiao Feng and Xiao Mu's side. Seeing this, Xiao Chen smiled. His tone was still as calm as before. Okay, since it's like this, my father and I will withdraw from the Xiao family. You all can let whoever you want be the family head. Xiao Chun chose to withdraw from the Xiao family. Hearing this, Xiao Mu, Xiao Feng, and the people who supported them were stunned at first. However, very quickly, they secretly rejoiced. No one would have thought that Xiao Chun would actually choose to withdraw from the Xiao family. Moreover, he was withdrawing from the family head. In this way, there would be no obstruction to the family head position. Xiao Feng and Xiao Mu would be able to smoothly sit on the family head position. They didn't think that things would go so smoothly. Xiao Chan was actually so easy to talk to. However, compared to everyone's joy, the first elder on the high seat immediately said, Chen, don't cause trouble. Begging for collection, begging for monthly votes, begging for recommendations. Chapter 2:25. While everyone was secretly rejoicing, the first elder spoke out against Xiao Chen's line, leaving the Xiao family. Xiao Feng sneered when he heard the first elder's words. First elder, what do you mean by this? Since Xiao Chen's line no longer has any feelings for the Xiao family, why force them to stay? Xiao Chen's line, leaving the Xiao family, was definitely great news for Xiao Feng. Thus, he naturally wouldn't allow the first elder to ruin his good fortune. Xiao Mu chimed in when Xiao Feng finished speaking. That's right. Forcefully picked melons are not sweet. First elder, since Xiao Chen's line no longer has any feelings for the family, then let them leave. That's right. First elder, there's no need to force them to stay. That's right. Leaving the family is a disgraceful thing to do. Since Xiao Chen's line wants to leave, then let them leave. Xiao Feng and Xiao Mu spoke out one after another. Soon after, their trusted aides spoke out as well. Xiao Chun had taken the initiative to leave the Xiao family. How could they give Xiao Chen the chance to return? Xiao Chen's eyes were full of sarcasm as he watched these people spouting nonsense. On the other hand, among the 5 elders sitting on the high seats, not only the great elder, but also the other 4 elders were glaring at Xiao Chun in anger. Idiots! You bunch of idiots! How can you be so ignorant? So stupid. The 5th elder was the first to speak out. Following the 5th elder's furious curses, the other 4 elders also began to curse. Beyond stupid. Beyond stupid. You're worse than pigs. You can't even understand such a simple matter. You bunch of good-for-nothings. The 5 elders began to curse one after another. Hearing this, some of the neutral clansmen also spoke out. Elders, what's wrong? You don't have to be so angry. Xiao Chen's line wants to leave the Xiao family. They're doing it voluntarily. These neutral clansmen hadn't sided with Xiao Mu and Xiao Feng. However, they were displeased when Xiao Chun said that he wanted to leave the Xiao family. In their opinion, Xiao Chen didn't put the family in his eyes. Since Xiao Chun wanted to leave the Xiao family, then let him leave. Because they were displeased, these people didn't agree with the 5 elders' persuasion of Xiao Chun. Could it be that the Xiao family had to beg a junior? Everyone present didn't seem to agree with the 5 elders' persuasion. Sensing this change, Xiao Mu and Xiao Feng were wild with joy. Xiao Chen had no way out. Today, he had no choice but to leave. Once Xiao Chen's line left the Xiao family, then the position of the family head would belong to the 2 brothers. At that time, they would hold the power of the Xiao family and control the entire Lingshan County. They would be a royal family. In their hearts, they were already imagining the scene of ascending to the position of patriarch. However, in the next second, the great elder's words instantly caused the faces of everyone present to change greatly. The people who were still clamoring all chose to remain silent, only to hear the great elder's clear voice. All of you shut up, you bunch of idiots. Let me ask you, who brought everything to the Xiao family today? The cultivation resources given to the Xiao family every month by the major forces of the Eastern Sun region for free, the huge Lingshan County, and the protection given to the Xiao family by the various forces. Think about it carefully. Who brought all of this to the Xiao family? This old man can clearly tell you that if Xiao Chun leaves the Xiao family today, then the cultivation resources given to the Xiao family every month by the major forces will immediately stop. Lingshan County will also quickly be taken back by the imperial family of the Lingfeng country. Furthermore, the various forces will no longer provide any protection to the Xiao family. The entire Xiao family will instantly return to its original state and become a small family that can only live in a remote corner. At that time, do you think there will be any meaning in the position of the family head? The first elder's reprimand was like a bucket of cold water being poured over their heads. It instantly sobered all the Xiao family members present. Yes, everything that the Xiao family had now was brought to the Xiao family by Xiao Chun. Once Xiao Chun leaves the Xiao family, the entire Xiao family will instantly return to its original state. At that time, they might not even be able to defend Lingshan County City, let alone rule over a region. Without Xiao Chun, would the major forces of the Eastern Sun region continue to help the Xiao family? Obviously not. Would the imperial family of the Lingfeng country still be incomparably respectful to the Xiao family? Obviously not. The crowd, who were originally in high spirits, suddenly fell silent as if someone had choked them. They looked at each other. It was only now that they realized what Xiao Chun meant to the Xiao family. It was no exaggeration to say that the Xiao family had prospered because of Xiao Chun alone, but it could also decline because of Xiao Chun alone. With Xiao Chun around, the Xiao family was unprecedentedly prosperous. Without Xiao Chun, the Xiao family was nothing. Xiao Chun did not care about the expressions of the crowd. He turned to look at Xiao Qing, who had a complicated expression on his face, and said indifferently, "Father, let's go. Today, I will bring all of you to the central divine region. I will not return in the future. There is no need for such a family." After saying that, Xiao Chun prepared to leave. Seeing this, the expressions of the many family members present, including those who supported Xiao Mu and Xiao Feng, changed. What kind of joke was this? How could Xiao Chun leave? What would happen to the Xiao family if he left? What was the point of having a clan head who didn't have the slightest bit of power? The great elder is right. We are really stupid. We actually wanted to fight for the position of patriarch, said a member of the Xiao family who had once supported Xiao Mu and Xiao Feng gloomily. They had been lying to themselves from the very beginning. The position of the head of the Xiao clan, was tempting because of Xiao Chun. Without Xiao Chun, the position of the head of the Xiao clan was not even worth mentioning. Chun'er. Seeing that Xiao Chun was about to leave, someone immediately called out. However, Xiao Chun did not care about it. Seeing that Xiao Chun was determined to leave the Xiao family, the crowd became anxious. A middle-aged man of the same generation as Xiao Chen's uncle clenched his teeth and knelt down in the hall. His face was filled with regret. Chen, uncle was wrong. The Xiao family is proud because of you. However, we were blinded by power. It is my fault. Stay. The Xiao family cannot do without you. Chen. As the middle-aged man knelt down, more than half of the clan members present knelt down in front of Xiao Chun and tried to persuade him with remorseful expressions. At this moment, they finally realized how important Xiao Chun was to the Xiao clan. These people were basically Xiao Chen's uncles. They were of the same generation as Xiao Qing. However, this was not the end. The 5 elders on the high seats also stood up and knelt down in front of Xiao Chun. The great elder who led the group said, Chun, no matter what, the Xiao family is still your family. You cannot abandon your family. Xiao Chun could choose to ignore the kneeling of others. However, Xiao Chun respected the 5 elders very much. He turned around and walked to the great elder and personally helped him up. Great uncle, what are you doing? Please add me to your collection. Please recommend me. Chapter 226. As Xiao Qing's uncles and Xiao Chen's uncles, the 5 elders all knelt down in front of Xiao Chun. Xiao Chun naturally couldn't ignore this and personally helped the 5 elders up. Xiao Chun said with a complicated expression, Granduncle, what are you doing? After being helped up by Xiao Chun, the first elder looked at Xiao Chun and said with a serious expression, Chinna, the Xiao family can't do without you. Moreover, this will always be your home. You can't leave. The first elder knew very well what Xiao Chen's departure meant to the Xiao family. Hearing the first elder's words, Xiao Chun nodded slightly. Seeing this, the first elder relaxed. In the end, Xiao Chun didn't leave the Xiao family. Everyone in the Xiao family was naturally very excited about this. Only Xiao Mu, Xiao Feng, and the others had ashen expressions. How could they not know that everything was over? Xiao Chen calmly looked at Xiao Mu, Xiao Feng, and the others. From the beginning, he didn't put them in his eyes. They were just 2 clowns. To be honest, as long as Xiao Chun was still alive, no one would be able to take away the Xiao family's patriarch's position. It was such a simple logic, but it was laughable that these 2 couldn't understand it. Since they had chosen to stay in the Xiao family, and the Xiao family had realized the importance of Xiao Chun, the following matters were simple. The Xiao family members who were originally neutral all fell to Xiao Chen's side one by one. They stood firmly on the same side as Xiao Chun. As for the people who were originally loyal to Xiao Mu and Xiao Feng, they were constantly thinking about how to cut ties with the Xiao family. It could be said that in less than 15 minutes, Xiao Chun had completely turned the situation around. The current Xiao family could be said to be under Xiao Chen's control. As long as Xiao Chun said a word, the fate of any Xiao family member could be changed, including the 5 elders. Xiao Chen calmly looked at Xiao Mu and Xiao Feng. When they felt Xiao Chen's gaze, their hearts tightened. At this critical moment, Xiao Mu reacted first. He immediately knelt down in front of Xiao Chun and pretended to be regretful. Chun, second uncle knows his mistake. Faced with a situation where he had no chance of winning, Xiao Mu chose to admit his mistake. At the same time, seeing Xiao Mu's actions, Xiao Feng and their sons knelt down in front of Xiao Chun, crying and begging. A look of disdain flashed across Xiao Chen's eyes. Looking at the 2 crying people, Xiao Chen knew that he could not be soft-hearted. These 2 were born to be rebellious. If he spared them today, something like this would definitely happen again in the future. Seeing that Xiao Chen's expression did not change in the slightest because of their crying and begging, Xiao Qing wanted to plead for them, but he could not open his mouth. As a father, he naturally knew what Xiao Chen was thinking. Everyone thought that Xiao Chun was going to kill the 2 of them. However, in the end, Xiao Chen gave up on the idea of killing them and said with a sigh, Forget it. Father has pleaded for you too many times. No matter what, the 2 of you are still my blood-related uncles. Hearing Xiao Chen's words, Xiao Mu and Xiao Feng were delighted. It seemed that Xiao Chun still cared about family at the last moment. But at this moment, Xiao Chun continued. However, although you can avoid the death penalty, you can't escape punishment. Everyone in your bloodline will cripple their own cultivation and spend the rest of their lives in the Xiao family. He spared the two of them, but he wanted to cripple the cultivation of everyone in their branch and put them under house arrest. Hearing Xiao Qin's words, Xiao Mu and Xiao Feng's faces, which had just recovered a little, instantly turned pale. Not only would they be crippled, but they would also be put under house arrest until they died. In other words, from now on, not only would they have to stay away from the Xiao family's power center, but they would also be unable to cultivate. They wouldn't even have freedom. Their every move would be under Xiao Qin's supervision. This was already Xiao Qin's bottom line. Originally, according to Xiao Qin's plan, Xiao Mu and Xiao Feng couldn't be spared. But when he thought of his father's many requests, Xiao Qin finally chose to take a step back. And this was the result of Xiao Qin taking a step back. He could spare their lives, but Xiao Qin had to ensure that the two of them wouldn't pose any threat to the Xiao family in the future. So he crippled their cultivation and put them under house arrest forever. Not only Xiao Mu and Xiao Feng, but the other members of the Xiao family were also stunned at this moment. They clearly didn't think that Xiao Qin would be so decisive. Unlike his father, Xiao Qin would never leave the slightest potential threat by his side, because this was something that only an idiot would do. Since he determined that Xiao Mu and Xiao Feng were threats and couldn't be killed, he could only firmly suppress them under his 5 fingers. For a moment, they couldn't accept this result. Xiao Mu and Xiao Feng turned to cry and beg Xiao Qing and the 5 elders, hoping that they could stand out and plead for mercy. Unfortunately, their cries didn't have any effect. Whether it was Xiao Qing or the 5 elders, they all knew that this was Xiao Qin's bottom line. It couldn't be changed, so the 6 of them remained silent. Do you want to do it yourselves? Or do you want me to help you? Without wasting any more time, Xiao Qin said indifferently. Seeing that Xiao Qin had already made up his mind, Xiao Mu and Xiao Feng immediately went crazy, crippling their cultivation and putting them under house arrest for the rest of their lives. How could they accept this? Immediately, the 2 of them exploded and looked at Xiao Qin angrily as they shouted, Xiao Qin, the 2 of us are your uncles. How could you be so ruthless? Today, we'll fight you to the death. After speaking, the 2 of them directly charged at Xiao Qin. Right now, only by taking down Xiao Qin would they have a chance to turn things around. They were going all out. However, in the face of their final madness, Xiao Qin's eyes flashed with disdain. At the same time, the moment the 2 of them exploded, Elder Wu appeared beside Xiao Qin out of thin air. With a slap, he instantly crippled the cultivation of the 2 of them. How could he not be prepared? After Elder Wu appeared, Qin Heng also appeared outside the hall with 3,000 elite warriors. These people were all arranged by Xiao Qin, slowly walking in front of Xiao Mu and Xiao Feng, whose cultivation had been crippled. Xiao Qin said indifferently, I gave you a chance. Unfortunately, you didn't take it. From the moment you made your choice, the result was already decided. After speaking, Xiao Qin suddenly shouted coldly, cripple their cultivation and imprison them in the western courtyard. They will never be able to leave. Following Xiao Qin's order, the 3,000 warriors brought by Qin Heng immediately acted. Screams rose and fell in the hall. In just a short time, the cultivation of Xiao Mu and Xiao Feng's people had been crippled. They were all taken to the western courtyard with ashen faces. They would never be able to leave. Please add, recommend, vote. Chapter 227. Xiao Qin was decisive. He didn't give Xiao Mu, Xiao Feng, and the others any chance. Sparing their lives was already Xiao Qin's biggest concession. Seeing Xiao Mu and Xiao Feng being dragged out of the hall, none of the Xiao clansmen present dared to plead for mercy. After today's events, they clearly understood that from today onwards, there would only be one voice in the Xiao clan. No one could refute it. After dealing with Xiao Mu and Xiao Feng, Xiao Qin dismissed the crowd. The clan meeting had come to an end. However, the Xiao clan's turmoil didn't stop. On the contrary, it was only the beginning. On the second day after Xiao Mu and Xiao Feng were crippled of their cultivation and imprisoned in the western courtyard, Xiao Qin gave an order to demote Xiao Mu and Xiao Feng's direct relatives to branch family members. They were also removed from the Shao clan's power center. Although these people were only vassals of Xiao Mu and Xiao Feng, Xiao Chun didn't keep them. After being demoted to branch family members, their status naturally dropped a lot. Some of them were even sent to the border by Xiao Chun. They weren't even qualified to stay in Lingshan Prefecture City. Almost a third of the direct descendants had been demoted to collateral relatives because of Xiao Feng and Xiao Mu. After dealing with these people, Xiao Chun selected some of the collateral relatives to be promoted to direct descendants to make up for the loss of these people. Of course, the people Xiao Chun selected were all clansmen who stood on his side. In 5 days, the Xiao clan went through a huge change. The direct relatives were demoted to branch family members, and the branch family members were included in the direct family. After this series of changes, the entire Xiao clan structure went through an earth-shattering change. In the face of this change, everyone could see that the Xiao clan was now completely under Xiao Chen's control. Not to mention other things, just the direct relatives of the Xiao clan were all loyal to Xiao Chun. It was also this group of people who completely controlled the Xiao clan. In such a short period of time, Xiao Chun forged the Xiao clan into an iron bucket. While Xiao Chun was dealing with these matters, the emperor of Lingfeng country, Mo Yao, personally came to Lingshan Prefecture City. He was accompanied by a group of nobles from Lingfeng country. It was obvious that they were here for Mo Feng. Over the past 5 days, they had found out about Mo Feng's trip to Lingshan County City and that Mo Feng had secretly interfered with the internal strife of the Xiao clan. After hearing this news, Mo Yao's first reaction was stupidity. He scolded Mo Feng's stupidity. What right did he have to interfere with the Xiao family's matters? Was the Xiao clan someone he could offend? Mo Yao was furious, but no matter what, Mo Feng was still his son. Therefore, he had no choice but to personally go to Lingshan City and prepare a generous gift, hoping that Xiao Chun would be lenient and let Mo Feng live. The group arrived at the Xiao residence with uneasy hearts. In the main hall, Mo Yao once again saw Xiao Chun. He was different from a few years ago. The current Xiao Chun was clearly more mature. Moreover, the aura he gave off was even more dignified. The youthfulness from before had completely disappeared. Sitting on the main seat and looking down at Mo Yao, Xiao Chun said indifferently, Mo Feng arbitrarily interfered with the matters of the Xiao clan. I can let him go on account of Mo Jia. However, this is your Mo clan's last chance. If there's a next time, even if Mo Jia asks, I will definitely destroy your Mo clan. Xiao Chun had already guessed Mo Yao's purpose for coming here. Therefore, he did not waste any time and directly spoke. As soon as he finished speaking, Qin Hung and 2 other heaven-tier cultivators walked in with Mo Feng, whose cultivation had been crippled. They casually threw him in front of Mo Yao. Mo Feng's cultivation had been completely crippled, and his face was pale. It could be said that from now on, Mo Feng would be a cripple. However, Mo Yao was not the least bit angry about this. On the contrary, he repeatedly expressed his thanks. There was no other way. He did not have the qualifications to negotiate with Xiao Chun. Although Mo Yao was the ruler of a country, in Xiao Chen's eyes, he was nothing. Therefore, Mo Yao was already very satisfied that Mo Feng was able to keep his life. After presenting a generous gift to the Xiao clan, Mo Yao then left with Mo Feng. As for Mo Feng, after experiencing the incident in Lingshan Prefecture City, he should be well behaved. The matters of the Mo clan were not worth mentioning to Xiao Chun. If it were not for Mo Jia, Xiao Chen's army could directly destroy the entire Lingfeng country with just one word. Although the 50,000 soldiers brought by Qin Hung were few in number, the people in this army were all cultivators from the divine realm of the Central Plains. Almost all of their cultivations were at the heaven tier. An army of 50,000 made up of celestial realm martial artists was naturally not something a small and remote country like Lingfeng Kingdom could contend with. After Mo Yao and the others left, Xiao Chun looked at Qin Hung and asked, "How are things with the Xiao clan army?" A few days ago, when he was purging the Xiao clan, Xiao Chun had asked Qin Hung to train the Xiao clan army again. After all, This was the personal army of the Shao clan. The previous state was naturally not good. Some of the black sheep had to be removed. Hearing Shao Chen's question, Qin Hung replied, "It's almost done. However, it may take some time to train them into elite soldiers." However, after some reorganization, the Shao clan army is only left with 20,000 men. The Shao clan army, which originally had 30,000 men, was reduced to 20,000 under Shao Chen's request. Some of the black sheep with bad character were all removed. Hearing Qin Heng's reply, Shao Chen said indifferently, "No matter, 20,000 men is enough. As for training, we can take it slowly in the future. All right, it's time to clean up the Bright Moon Gang in Lingshan County. Let the Shao clan army go. It's a good opportunity to train." The Bright Moon Gang was a gang in the underworld. For the current Shao clan army, it was a good opportunity to train. Hearing Shao Chen's words, Qin Hung nodded and went to make arrangements. Regarding the Shao clan army, Shao Chen handed it all to Qin Hung. Qin Hung had been stationed in the Eastern Pass City for such a long time. He was obviously better at managing the army than he was, and Shao Chen trusted Qin Hung. After dealing with these matters, there was only one last thing left, and that was to pay respects to the ancestors. Every year, the Shao clan would pay respects to their ancestors, and this year's ceremony was 3 days later. For any clan, paying respects to their ancestors was a major event, and they couldn't be careless in the slightest. Therefore, for the next few days, the entire Shao clan was busy with this matter. Although it was very complicated, the current Shao clan had changed greatly. Under Shao Qing's command, everything was proceeding smoothly. 3 days later, in the morning, at the back mountain of the Shao clan, many members of the Shao clan gathered together to prepare to pay respects to the ancestors. Begging for collection, begging for monthly votes, begging for recommendation. Chapter 228. The back mountain of the Shao family was not big, but it was the ancestral land of the Shao family. According to the records of the Shao family's ancestors, the Shao family started from here. Moreover, during the time of the Shao family's ancestors, there was no Lingshan County here, not even the Lingfeng Kingdom. It could be said that the history of the Shao family was even longer than the Lingfeng Kingdom. As the head of the family, Shao Qing stood at the head of the table. Shao Chun and his mother, Bai Riyue, stood on his left. As for the 5 elders, they stood on his right. Behind them were the many members of the Shao family. Of course, the direct descendants stood at the front, while the collateral relatives stood at the back. When the time came, the great elder shouted loudly, "Let the ancestral worship begin." After the shout, the Shao family's ancestral worship, which had been done countless times, officially began. The entire process of the ancestral worship had never changed. Therefore, many members of the Shao family were very familiar with it, including Shao Chun. Everything was going smoothly. However, at that moment, Shao Chun suddenly felt that the mysterious bee's skin in his storage ring had begun to emit a faint purple light. Shao Chun had bought this bee skin in the 9 Firmaments market of the 9 Firmaments Palace. Back then, Shao Chun had bought it because his bloodline had reacted. However, after studying it many times, he could not find any clues. Shao Chun had gradually forgotten about it. Who would have thought that the bee skin would actually react now? He was puzzled. At the same time, as time passed, the light on the mysterious bee skin became more and more dazzling. In the end, the entire bee skin seemed to have turned into a purple dot of light. Moreover, it had directly rushed out of his storage ring. It had forcefully rushed out of the storage ring. Everyone present saw a purple dot of light quickly flying out from Shao Chen's storage ring. Then, it instantly entered the Shao family's ancestral land and disappeared. What's going on? That dot of light disappeared? It didn't disappear? I think I saw it enter the ancestral land. Many of the heads of the Shao clan saw the purple light spot and witnessed it entering the ancestral land. Such an unforeseen event caused everyone to discuss in whispers. At the same time, almost everyone looked at Shao Chen because they saw the purple light spot flying out from Shao Chen's storage ring. Even Shao Qing looked at Shao Chen strangely and asked, "Chen, or this?" Xiao Chun felt helpless under the gaze of his father and the other clansmen. He didn't know what was going on either. He had come across this animal skin by accident. After studying it for so long, even he couldn't find any clues. He didn't know how to explain this to his clansmen. It was at this moment that someone suddenly shouted, "Look!" Following this person's shout, everyone's gaze shifted to the ancestral land. They saw that the mountain behind the ancestral land, which was originally not very big, had two stone pillars rising from the top of the mountain. It was as though they grew directly from the ground. As the two stone pillars appeared, a purple light connected the two stone pillars, and in an instant, a light door was formed. This is facing the light door formed by the purple light. Everyone couldn't remain calm. What's going on? There was actually a light door hidden in the Shao clan's ancestral land, and no one in the Shao clan had discovered it after so many years. Like the other clansmen, Xiao Chun was incomparably shocked. However, Xiao Chun vaguely guessed that the appearance of the purple light was probably related to the mysterious animal skin. Or perhaps, the purple light door was formed by the mysterious animal skin. The first time he met it, he vaguely felt that the mysterious animal skin was related to him. Now, it seemed that it was indeed the case. Not only was it related to him, but it was also related to the entire Shao clan. This sudden turn of events forced the ancestral worship ceremony to pause. Just as everyone stared at the purple light door in horror, a ray of light shrouded Xiao Chun in an instant. Under the purple light, Xiao Chun couldn't resist at all. It was as though he was suppressed by an inexplicable power. Not only his body, but even his soul was suppressed. Unable to resist, Xiao Chun's body slowly rose into the air as though he was being forcefully sucked into the light door. His entire body was uncontrollably sucked into the light door and disappeared. After watching Xiao Chun disappear, Xiao Qing immediately rushed toward the purple light door. Although he didn't know what the purple light door was, Xiao Qin's disappearance made Xiao Qing panic for a moment. He wanted to rush into the light door to rescue Xiao Chun, but it was a pity that Xiao Qing couldn't get close to the light door at all. He couldn't even reach the foot of the mountain. The entire Shao clan's ancestral land seemed to be shrouded in a layer of terrifying restriction that no one could approach. After several attempts, he still couldn't get close to the ancestral land. In the end, even the Pill Cloud ruler appeared. He was also attracted by the sudden appearance of the purple light door. The Pill Cloud ruler appeared and stared at the purple light door at the top of the mountain. He seemed to have thought of something, but he couldn't be sure. He stood at the foot of the mountain for a long time without saying a word. "Senior, what's going on?" "Chun has been sucked into the purple light door." Xiao Qing stood beside the Pill Cloud ruler with an anxious expression and asked anxiously. He was extremely worried about Xiao Qin's safety, but the Pill Cloud ruler acted as though he didn't hear anything. After a moment of silence, the Pill Cloud ruler struck out with a seemingly casual palm strike. However, the terrifying pressure sent the Shao clan's patriarch flying far away. The Pill Cloud ruler wasn't sure what the purple light door was, but since Xiao Chun had been sucked in, he naturally had to act. He tried to break the restriction that enveloped the entire mountain, but the restriction didn't budge in the slightest in the face of the full-force attack of a sovereign at the peak of the Dao Emperor realm. The attack didn't do any damage to the Dao at all. Even the Pill Cloud Dominator frowned when he saw that. To be able to set up a restriction that even a sovereign couldn't break, this he tried a few more times, but to no avail. Seeing that even the Pill Cloud ruler couldn't do anything, Xiao Qing and Bai Ruyue grew even more worried. Just when everyone was worried, Xiao Chun, who had been forcibly sucked into the Door of Light, seemed to have arrived at an underground tomb. There were green stone walls all around, and there were several luminous pearls on the ceiling that constantly emitted a faint white light. There was also a tombstone that was about the height of a person in the middle of the tomb. The words on the tombstone were already blurred and unrecognizable. However, there was also a green stone coffin behind the tombstone. There were 4 lifelike statues at the 4 corners of the stone coffin, guarding the 4 corners of the stone coffin like soldiers. Please add, recommend, vote. Chapter 229. Looking at everything in front of him, Xiao Chun forced himself to calm down. He couldn't help but look at the 4 sacred beast statues. Xiao Chun whispered to himself, "These are the 4 sacred beasts: azure dragon, white tiger, vermilion bird, and black tortoise. These were the legendary 4 sacred beasts in the heavenly Chun continent. Now, a stone coffin was guarded by 4 sacred beasts. This was really... Xiao Chun withdrew his gaze from the statues of the 4 sacred beasts and carefully looked at everything around him. After a while, Xiao Chun was sure that he was in an underground tomb. The area was not very large, and there did not seem to be anything strange about it. It was a very ordinary underground tomb, except for the statues of the 4 sacred beasts at the 4 corners of the sarcophagus. He didn't know why he was brought here by the purple light door, and where was this place? Could it be the underground of a Xiao family's ancestral land? If that was the case, wouldn't it mean that the person buried here was his ancestor? But after so many years, if there was an underground tomb in the Xiao family's ancestral land, why didn't anyone in the Xiao family discover it? After pondering for a long time, he still couldn't come up with a definite answer. At the same time, Xiao Chun also looked around to see if there was an exit. Unfortunately, this underground tomb was completely sealed. Not to mention an exit, there wasn't even a mouse hole. There was no exit. He also tried to use brute force to break the surrounding green stone walls. But unfortunately, these seemingly ordinary green stone walls were unbelievably hard. Even the scarlet edge sword couldn't leave a mark on them. There was no way out. In the end, Xiao Chun could only think of other ways. He walked slowly to the front of the tombstone. If he wanted to leave, he had to at least know who was buried here. Xiao Sheng. After carefully staring at the tombstone for a while, Xiao Chun could only see the 2 words Xiao Sheng clearly. He didn't know what these 2 words represented. Was it a person's name or something else? Xiao Chun couldn't confirm the identity of the tomb owner, but from the 2 words Xiao Sheng, he guessed that this so-called Xiao Sheng was probably the ancestor of the Xiao family. But it was strange. Was there a person named Xiao Sheng in the Xiao family's genealogy? At least in Xiao Chen's memory, he had no impression of it at all. Just as Xiao Chun was at his wit's end, the 4 statues exploded at the same time. At the same time, 4 rays of light, purple, green, red, and white, shot toward Xiao Chun. Without giving Xiao Chun any time to react, the 4 rays of light entered Xiao Chen's body. The 4-colored light entered Xiao Chen's body. In the blink of an eye, an intense pain instantly engulfed Xiao Chen's entire body. A bone-deep chill continued to rise. This kind of pain was definitely the most intense Xiao Chun had ever experienced in his life. Moreover, while enduring this intense pain, Xiao Chun realized that he couldn't pass out. Not only did he have to maintain absolute consciousness, but he also had to constantly endure the pain. He gritted his teeth, and his face became incomparably hideous because of the pain. Even with Xiao Chen's temperament, he couldn't bear this kind of intense pain and couldn't help but scream in agony. Under this kind of pain, Xiao Chun didn't notice that some changes were happening to his blood vessels. His blood and meridians, which were originally no different from ordinary people, were now gradually completing a transformation. His meridians began to emit a jade-like white light, and his blood began to turn pale gold. He didn't know how long the transformation of his blood vessels took. Anyway, Xiao Chun felt as though he had taken a trip to hell. His entire body was already drenched in sweat. After the intense pain slowly subsided, Xiao Chun was still lying on the ground, gasping for air. During that period of time, Xiao Chun even had difficulty breathing. At this moment, he was greedily breathing and enjoying the refreshing feeling brought by the fresh air. After resting for a full 15 minutes, Xiao Chun struggled to sit up and couldn't help but curse. Damn, I almost thought I was going to die. Indeed, Xiao Chun really thought that he was going to die. After cursing silently, Xiao Chun finally paid attention to his own body. Just now, when the 4 sacred beast statues shattered, they turned into 4-colored light and entered his body. It was because of these 4-colored light that he was in so much pain that he wished he was dead. When Xiao Chun looked inside his body, He was immediately stunned. What's going on? The blood vessels in his body. Actually, his meridians were crystal clear like jade, and his blood had turned from bright red to gold. Moreover, along with the changes in his meridians and blood, Shao Chun seemed to feel a kind of bloodline power similar to that of a monster beast. Are you kidding me? A human being actually has the bloodline power? This is impossible. One must know that the reason why monster beasts were powerful was entirely because of the bloodline power. The bloodline power could be said to be hereditary. It was innate and could not be acquired or cultivated. However, human beings were different from monster beasts. The strength of human beings was obtained through continuous cultivation. No one had ever heard of a human being possessing the bloodline power. It was something that had never been heard of before, yet it was happening to Shao Chun right now. The power of the bloodline that had seeped deep into his bones seemed to have been innate. At the same time, Shao Chun clearly felt that his talents, physical body, soul, and other aspects had all undergone qualitative changes because of this experience. He couldn't figure out at all. How could a human being possess the bloodline power? Are you kidding me? Or could it be that the four-colored light contained the bloodline power of some monster beast? Then it was inexplicably absorbed by him. So now I have the bloodline power of a monster beast in me. But this is also impossible. How can a human absorb the bloodline power of a monster beast? The two were naturally repelled by each other. The bloodline power that appeared out of thin air confused Shao Chun. Of course, Shao Chun didn't know that the bloodline power in his body wasn't the bloodline power of a monster beast. According to the orthodox saying, Shao Chun's current situation was a bloodline atavism. Shao Chun was very confused. After a long while, he still couldn't calm down. However, at this moment, the same purple light door appeared in the center of the tomb. Shao Chun was awakened by the appearance of the purple light door. He temporarily suppressed the doubts in his heart and muttered to himself as he looked at the purple light door. Is this the exit? He wasn't sure if this purple light door was the exit. At the same time, with the appearance of the purple light door, the entire underground tomb seemed to have undergone some changes. It was as if a place that had been sealed was finally opened up for some reason and could be connected to the outside world. Shao Chun frowned slightly. He wanted to figure out the secret of this underground tomb. However, after thinking about it, Shao Chun still decided to find the exit first. As for the rest, he could think about it later. With this thought, Shao Chun walked directly into the purple light door. Seeking collection, recommendation, monthly votes. Chapter 230. As he stepped into the purple light door of the underground tomb, his vision blurred, as if it had happened in an instant. When Shao Chun regained his vision, he found himself standing on the peak of the mountain behind the Shao clan, and behind him was the purple light door from before. It was indeed the exit. The purple light door at the peak of the mountain was connected to the purple light door in the underground tomb. Through these two purple light doors, one could freely enter and exit the underground tomb. Seeing Shao Chun come out safely, Shao Qing and Bai Ruiyue, who were originally worried, heaved a sigh of relief. It's good that he's fine. It's good that he's fine. Shao Chun was safe and sound, and the mysterious restriction that shrouded the mountain behind the Shao clan also disappeared. Everyone could now climb up the mountain and observe the purple light door from a close distance. Shao Chun heard from Shao Qing that the mysterious restriction was something that even the Pill Cloud ruler couldn't break. He became more and more suspicious. If even an almighty ruler couldn't break the restriction, then how powerful was the person who set it up? An existence that surpassed an almighty ruler? Furthermore, could the disappearance of the restriction that shrouded the mountain behind have something to do with him? The underground tomb was indeed too mysterious, and Shao Chun didn't know how to explain it. Seeing Shao Chun come back safely, the Pill Cloud ruler frowned slightly, as if he was thinking about something. He didn't notice the Pill Cloud ruler's expression. Seeing Shao Chun come back safely, everyone in the Shao clan heaved a sigh of relief. Then, everyone began to study the purple light door. From Shao Chun, They already knew that the purple light door was connected to an underground tomb. However, there wasn't anything special in the tomb. Of course, Xiao Chun didn't tell everyone about the changes in his body. It wasn't because he wanted to hide it, but because he didn't know how to say it. He couldn't tell everyone that he now had the power of bloodline, right? If he said this, everyone would think that he was crazy. In this world, how could a human have the power of bloodline? That was a characteristic of demonic beasts. He didn't tell anyone about this. After some research, someone suggested that they head to the underground tomb to take a look. Soon, everyone chose a branch family disciple with earth mirror cultivation to go and investigate. He stepped into the glowing door, and soon, the branch family disciple disappeared into the glowing door. Everyone waited outside. After waiting for roughly 2 hours, the branch family disciple finally returned. To everyone's surprise, after just 2 hours, the branch family disciple's cultivation base had risen from the Earthbright mirror stage to the Sky human stage. Upon realizing this, everyone from the Shao clan was stunned. How was it possible to break through a major realm in just 2 hours? Moreover, that was not all. Everyone heard about what happened after he entered the underground tomb from this branch disciple. According to him, as soon as he entered the underground tomb, he felt a sense of comfort. Then, unconsciously, he fell into a state of cultivation. During his cultivation, this person entered an extremely strange state. It was as if he had a dream, but he could no longer remember the content. When he woke up again, his cultivation had already broken through to the celestial realm. What a joke. He broke through to the celestial realm just because he had a dream? This person's words were too unimaginable. However, what he was about to say next made everyone's jaws drop. After waking up from the underground tomb, he felt some changes in his body. It was as if something in his body had awakened. It was also the attribute of this thing that had greatly improved his talent. Not only his cultivation base, but even his talent had improved. One must know that a human's talent was the same as a demonic beast's bloodline power. They were all destined at birth and couldn't be improved. But now, this person actually said that his talent had improved. Hearing this person's words, Xiao Chun strode in front of him. Without saying a word, he stretched out his hand and tapped on this person's forehead. Soul power spread out and began to check this person's body. After checking, Xiao Chun frowned slightly. This person's meridians and blood were not like his. They were still in a normal state. However, Xiao Chun could feel an extremely familiar aura in this person's body. This aura was actually very similar to the bloodline power in his body. Moreover, Xiao Chen's intuition told him that even if this person was now at the celestial realm, as long as he activated the bloodline power in his body, he could instantly suppress this person. It had nothing to do with cultivation base. It was completely bloodline suppression. What a joke. There was actually bloodline suppression between humans? After carefully checking several times, Xiao Chun still couldn't find the answer in the end. Just as Xiao Chun was checking the body of this collateral descendant, the people of the Shao clan on the other side couldn't help but rush towards the purple door. What a joke. To be able to raise one's cultivation base within 2 hours and also improve one's talent. Who would be willing to let go of such a rare opportunity? Everyone wanted to enter the purple door of light. At the same time, as everyone studied the purple door of light in depth, the people of the Shao clan discovered that apart from the people of the Shao clan, no one else could enter the underground tomb. Even the Pill Cloud Sovereign personally tried, but he still didn't succeed. After entering from one side of the door of light, the Pill Cloud Sovereign appeared from the other side of the door. He wasn't teleported into the underground tomb. Apart from the Pill Cloud Sovereign, Bai Ryue also couldn't enter. This meant that only the people of the Shao clan could enter the underground tomb. Realizing this, all the people of the Shao clan naturally thought that this was a gift from their ancestors. It was a great opportunity that the ancestors of the Shao clan had left for their descendants. With such an opportunity in front of them, the people of the Shao clan couldn't wait to enter the underground tomb. However, at most, only 10 people could enter the underground tomb at a time. Any more than that, and they couldn't enter. Just like that, under the command of Shao Qing and the 5 great elders, the people of the Shao clan began to enter the underground tomb in batches. The first to enter would definitely be Shao Qing and the 5 great elders, followed by the direct descendants of the Shao clan. Finally, it would be the disciples of the Shao clan's branch family. Seeing the people of the Shao clan enter the underground tomb, Shao Chen also came to the side of the Pill Cloud Sovereign and asked curiously, "Master, do you know what's going on?" The appearance of the underground tomb was too strange. Furthermore, it could raise one's cultivation base by one's cultivation base within 2 hours. It could even improve one's talent. This was indeed unimaginable. Faced with Shao Chen's question, the Pill Cloud Sovereign seemed to be deep in thought. After pondering for a moment, he said, "It's hard to say. I can't be sure. However, this is indeed a heaven-sent opportunity for the Shao clan. The appearance of the underground tomb is enough to raise the overall strength of the Shao clan by several levels, making them a true powerful clan. Begging for collection, begging for monthly votes, begging for recommendations." Chapter 231. The appearance of the purple door of light and the underground tomb was indeed a great opportunity for the Shao clan. Just as the Pill Cloud ruler finished speaking, Shao Qing, who was in the first batch to enter, and the 5 elders also walked out of the purple door of light. Seeing the 6 of them, the Shao clan members immediately let out cries of surprise. The 6 of them had all stepped into the Tao-seeking realm. In just 2 hours, Shao Qing and the other 5's cultivation had risen from the heaven realm to the Tao-seeking realm. Furthermore, from the looks of astonishment on their faces, it was obvious that their talents had also improved tremendously. Being able to improve their cultivation and talents was enough to drive anyone crazy. Of course, such benefits were only available to the Shao clan members. Without the Shao clan's bloodline, even the mighty sovereigns couldn't enter the underground tomb. After Shao Qing and the other 5 personally tested the underground tomb and confirmed that there was no danger at all, the Shao clan members entered the underground tomb in batches under the command of the 5 elders and Shao Qing. Just as the Pill Cloud ruler had said, the appearance of the underground tomb and the purple door of light was enough to raise the Shao clan's status by several levels, making them a true powerhouse. Everyone from the Shao clan waited excitedly outside the door of light. At the same time, Shao Chun left with the Pill Cloud ruler. There was nothing else for him to do now. Besides, Shao Chun had a feeling that the Pill Cloud Tao Master seemed to know something about the underground tomb, so he wanted to ask the Pill Cloud ruler in private. Along the way to the Pill Cloud ruler's residence, only the master and disciple were left. Shao Chun didn't hide anything and asked directly, "Master, do you know something? What exactly is going on with the underground tomb?" The Pill Cloud ruler didn't answer Shao Chen's question. Instead, he tapped on Shao Chen's forehead with a finger, and his soul power surged into Shao Chen's body. Under the inner vision, Shao Chen's meridians and bloodline power were completely exposed to the Pill Cloud ruler's eyes. Sensing the bloodline power in Shao Chen's body, even the Pill Cloud ruler couldn't help but turn pale with fright. It took him a while to regain his composure. Bloodline power, the Pill Cloud ruler thought to himself, but he didn't say anything. He only told Shao Chun, "This isn't a bad thing for the Shao clan, but there are some things that I can't be sure of. Besides, you don't need to know too much now. You just need to remember that this is a great opportunity for the Shao clan, and even more so for you." He didn't give Shao Chun the answer he wanted. As soon as he finished speaking, the Pill Cloud ruler turned and walked back into his room. Clearly, the Pill Cloud sovereign must have noticed something, but he refused to tell Shao Chun. Shao Chun could do nothing about it. Shao Chun spent the next few days studying the power of his bloodline. While Shao Chun was studying the power of his bloodline, the members of the Shao clan had also come out of the underground tomb in just a few days. After going through the baptism of the underground tomb, the overall strength of the Shao clan had completely improved by leaps and bounds. Now, the Shao clan had 6 Tao Querying Realm cultivators, a terrifying 50 Celestial Realm cultivators, and more than 100 Earth Realm cultivators. As for the Mystic Aeon Realm and Yellow Realm cultivators, there were too many to count. It wasn't an exaggeration to say that the current Shao clan could easily remove the royal family of Lingfeng country without Shao Chun. The increase in strength made the Shao clan overjoyed. This was because this time it wasn't just an increase in cultivation base. More importantly, it was an increase in talent. After the increase in talent, the Shao clan would be able to go further on the path of martial arts. In the future, the Shao clan would be incomparably glorious. To put it bluntly, anyone of the younger generation in the Shao clan was a genius. Everyone in the Shao clan was a genius. How terrifying was that? While the members of the Shao clan were overjoyed, Shao Chun also discovered another effect of his bloodline power, which was that it had the ability to suppress the members of the Shao clan. When facing the members of a Shao clan, a single thought from Shao Chun would have suffocated the other party. Shao Chun had already tried this before. Even the 5 great elders, who had Dao querying realm cultivation, could not move a finger in front of Shao Chun. Shao Chun only needed a thought to make the 5 great elders unable to move a finger. It was an absolutely terrifying suppression that came from the depths of the bloodline. It was impossible to resist or break. The reason why he could suppress anyone in the Shao clan was because of Shao Chun's bloodline power. He had already checked many members of the Shao clan. Among them, none of them had the same bloodline power as Shao Chun. It was certain that among all the members of the Shao clan, only Shao Chun possessed the power of the bloodline. The other lords of the Shao clan did not possess it. Perhaps it was because of the power of the bloodline that Shao Chun was able to suppress any member of the Shao clan so easily. With such means, Shao Chun's control over the Shao clan had reached an absolute peak. If any member of the Shao clan dared to have any thoughts of betrayal, Shao Chun only needed a thought to make the other party explode and die instantly, no matter how far away they were. In this way, no matter how high the Shao clan reached in the future, Shao Chun would be the king of the Shao clan. He could control the life and death of everyone in the Shao clan with just a thought. After confirming this, Shao Chun was completely relieved. He had not gone out for a few days. On this day, Shao Chun was strolling in the Shao clan's mansion. Looking at the smiles on the faces of the members of the Shao clan, Shao Chun was also very happy. It was naturally Shao Chun's wish for his clan to be strong. Moreover, Shao Chun had absolute control over the Shao clan. He did not have to worry about anyone in the Shao clan daring to rebel. Just as Shao Chun was casually strolling, there were a few members of the younger generation of the Shao clan not far away. They were all of the same generation as Shao Chun. After going through the underground tomb, these few people's cultivation had increased from the mysterious Yuan realm to the Earth Mirror realm. Moreover, their talents had also improved tremendously. Perhaps it was because of this great improvement that these few young men had less respect for Shao Chun. Seeing Shao Chun walking over, one of the young men mocked him coldly. Do you know that everyone in the Shao clan has benefited greatly from the appearance of the underground tomb this time? Only Shao Chun did not change at all. His cultivation did not increase at all. I heard that many people said that the ancestor did not like Shao Chun. That was why he did not give him any opportunities. In the past, our Shao clan had to rely on Shao Chun. But now, because of the gift from the ancestor, our Shao clan's strength has increased tremendously. We no longer need to rely on Shao Chun to dominate the Lingfeng country. That's not all. With our current talents, I'm afraid that it won't be difficult for us to surpass Shao Chun in the future. That's right. Please add, recommend, and vote. Chapter 232. Due to the instantaneous increase in strength and the qualitative change in talent, a small portion of the Shao clan had a change in mentality. Previously, the entire Shao clan had to rely on Shao Chun, but now, with the overall strength of the Shao clan, even without Shao Chun, it was enough to dominate Lingfeng country. Moreover, after this heaven-sent opportunity, the Shao clan would only become stronger and stronger. Because of this, some people began to feel that Shao Chun was no longer that important. In addition to this heaven-sent opportunity, the cultivation of almost everyone in the Shao clan had increased by leaps and bounds, except for Shao Chun. Some people with ulterior motives also began to spread rumors, saying that the ancestors did not like Xiao Chun, so they did not give Xiao Chun any opportunities. Hearing the words of these Xiao clan disciples, Xiao Chun smiled and shook his head, not bothering about it. Perhaps some people already thought that he was no longer that important to the Xiao clan. Little did they know, compared to before, Xiao Qin's control over the Xiao clan had increased tremendously. With the bloodline suppression, he could decide the life and death of anyone in the Xiao clan with just a thought. No matter how high the cultivation was, as long as Xiao Qin wanted, he would definitely die. Not bothering about these Xiao clan disciples, Xiao Chun walked away. The changes in the ancestral land allowed the Xiao clan to completely taste the sweetness. At this moment, the ancestral land of the Xiao clan had become the most heavily guarded place in the Xiao clan. It was personally guarded by the 5 great elders, and anyone who needed to enter or leave the ancestral land had to obtain the approval of the 5 great elders. Xiao Chun did not have any special purpose on his way to the ancestral land. He just wanted to take another look at the purple light door and see if there were any new discoveries. Just as Xiao Chun arrived at the entrance of the ancestral land, there were many Xiao clan members gathered outside the ancestral land. Although these people had already entered the underground tomb, this did not stop them from longing for the ancestral land. Therefore, many Xiao clan members would gather outside the ancestral land as long as they had nothing to do, chatting and thanking the ancestors for their gifts. Xiao Chun strolled over. Seeing this, the expressions of these Xiao clansmen changed slightly, but they quickly returned to normal. They also greeted Xiao Chun, but from their expressions and words, Xiao Chun could clearly feel the change. Compared to before, they were clearly not as respectful. Perhaps in their opinion, the current Xiao clan no longer needed to completely rely on Xiao Chun. Xiao Chun did not mind. He directly strode towards the ancestral grounds, but at this moment, a middle-aged woman stopped him. Xiao Chun, the 5 elders have ordered that anyone who wishes to enter the ancestral grounds must first report to them. They can only enter after obtaining permission. Did he have to report his entry into the ancestral land? Hearing this person's words, Xiao Chun turned his head and swept his gaze across the crowd. Facing Xiao Chun's gaze, no one avoided it. Instead, they calmly looked back at Xiao Chun. Their attitude had indeed changed a lot. Regarding this, Xiao Chun was a little displeased. A cold glint flashed in his eyes. Xiao Chun said indifferently, "With the appearance of the underground tomb, all of you have obtained great benefits from it. Only I seem to have obtained nothing. So, do you think that the ancestors do not like me and did not give me any opportunities?" Hearing Xiao Chun's words, no one made a sound. It was not difficult to tell from their expressions that they indeed thought so. Xiao Chun smiled slightly, then directly activated the bloodline power in his body. In an instant, the Xiao clansmen in front of Xiao Chun could not help but kneel down and kowtow to Xiao Chun. It was a completely uncontrollable kowtow. Not only that, everyone only felt a chill emerge from the depths of their hearts and shroud them. It was as if a sharp sword was hanging on their necks. With just a thought from Xiao Chun, all of their heads would fall to the ground in an instant. They wanted to resist, but they could not muster the slightest will to resist. They knelt on the ground and raised their heads to look at Xiao Chun, who had a calm expression on his face. At this moment, Xiao Chun seemed to be countless times taller in their eyes. He held the power to kill all of them in his hands. How? How is this possible? Why? An old man of the Xiao clan, who was at the celestial realm, said in disbelief. Xiao Chun was only at the earth realm. No matter how powerful his combat prowess was, it was impossible for him to suppress so many of them without doing anything. They were extremely shocked. Seeing this, Xiao Chun said indifferently, "Some things are meaningless if I say it out loud. The ancestors' gift you obtained in the underground tomb was to increase your cultivation and talent, while I obtained absolute control of the Xiao clan. Anyone with the Xiao clan's bloodline only needs a thought. Even if they are thousands of miles away, I can easily kill them. So, put away those little thoughts in your hearts." Xiao Chun was not in the mood to bicker with these people. In his opinion, They were just arrogant because of a temporary increase in their strength. So, it was enough to give them a warning. Moreover, after knowing that he had the ability to easily kill them, he believed that there would not be any more ignorant people in the Shao clan. As soon as he finished speaking, Shao Chun turned around and walked into the ancestral land, leaving the group of Shao clan members in a mess. How is this possible? How can Shao Chun possess such power? What exactly is that suppression from the depths of his bloodline? Does Shao Chun really control the life and death of all the Shao clan members? If that was the case, then wouldn't Shao Chun's control over the Shao clan be even stronger than before? This matter was completely out of everyone's expectations, and it quickly spread throughout the Shao clan. Some of the Shao clan members who once had some thoughts were terrified. As the first person to enter the underground tomb, Shao Chun did not gain nothing. Instead, he gained the power to control the life and death of the entire Shao clan. Everyone knew that from now on, no one in the entire Shao clan would dare to rebel. If it was said that the Shao clan could not do without Shao Chun in the past, then it was even more so now. This was because as long as Shao Chun wanted to, everyone in the Shao clan could be wiped out in an instant. Moreover, the suppression from the depths of their bloodline made everyone in the Shao clan unconsciously recognize Shao Chun as their master. They could not disobey Shao Chun's orders. In just one day, the Shao clan members' attitude toward Shao Chun had once again become extremely respectful. It was even more respectful than before. This was a respect that came from the depths of their hearts. In this respect, there was even a trace of fear. This was because before Shao Chun, cultivation was useless. No matter what cultivation one had, Shao Chun could mercilessly suppress them with just a thought. Shao Chun did not care about the changes in the Shao clan members. After going to the ancestral land again yesterday, Shao Chun still did not discover anything new. Helpless, he went to the residence of the Pill Cloud Sovereign. Now that everything was basically settled, Shao Chun also planned to discuss with Dao Master Pill Cloud about bringing the Shao clan members back to Nine Firmament's palace. Begging for collection, begging for monthly votes, begging for recommendations. Chapter 233. As Shao Chun was making his way to the Pill Cloud Hegemon's courtyard, the heavenly Pill Hegemon had arrived at the Shao family's residence. He was talking to the Pill Cloud Hegemon in the garden. "Are you certain?" The heavenly Pill Hegemon's face turned solemn as he looked at the Pill Cloud Hegemon in shock. Hearing the heavenly Pill Hegemon's words, the Pill Cloud Hegemon seemed to have become a completely different person. There was no trace of drunkenness in him at all. Instead, his eyes shone brightly as he said, "I'm not certain. At any rate, this is just a legend. Even the ancient books only have a partial record of it." "Bloodline power, huh? How unexpected," the heavenly Pill Hegemon said with a sigh. As the two of them were talking, Shao Chun appeared outside the courtyard. He saw the heavenly Pill Hegemon from afar. Even so, he still walked into the courtyard. Shao Chun told the Pill Cloud Hegemon his thoughts. He was prepared to bring everyone from the Shao family to Nine Firmament's palace. This had always been Shao Chun's plan. However, after hearing Shao Chun's thoughts, the Pill Cloud Hegemon gave a different suggestion. "Truth be told, I don't think there's a need for the Shao family to go to Nine Firmament's palace. Going there would be detrimental to their cultivation. It would be better for them to stay here." The Pill Cloud Hegemon did not agree with bringing everyone from the Shao family to Nine Firmament's palace. In the past, he would not have said that. However, the changes in the Shao family had caused him to dispel the idea. In the Pill Cloud Hegemon's opinion, the underground tomb was not as simple as it appeared. Not only did it increase the cultivation base and talent of the Shao family, but he could also vaguely sense that since the underground tomb appeared, the spiritual energy in the Shao family had become much thicker. Additionally, the spiritual energy was very unique and very compatible with the Shao family. In other words, it was much easier for the Shao family to refine the spiritual energy compared to other places. In addition, the demonic cultivators of the Eastern Sun region had been completely suppressed. Although there were definitely some hidden people These demonic cultivators were no longer a threat to the Shao clan. Since there was no danger and the Shao family would benefit greatly from staying here, there was no need to bring the Shao family to Nine Firmament's palace. Hearing Dao Master Pill Cloud's words, Shao Chun fell silent for a moment. Dao Master's words made sense. However, Shao was worried that if the Shao family continued to stay here, the demonic cultivators would return in the future. They would be in danger. He would not be able to save them in time. The heavens. Seeing that, Dao Master Dan Yun continued, "Don't underestimate your own family. Shao Chun, there are some things that I cannot be certain of right now. However, I can tell you with certainty that the Shao family is not to be underestimated. Given enough time, the Shao family will definitely become a powerful helper for you in the future. Naturally, that is on the premise that you can fully control the Shao family. Thus, let the Shao family stay." Clearly, the Pill Cloud Dominator knew something about the changes in the Shao family. However, after several inquiries, he still refused to reveal anything. Now that the Pill Cloud Dominator had such a high opinion of the Shao family, Shao Chun made up his mind. Since staying here would be beneficial to the cultivation of the Shao family, he might as well stay. In the end, he accepted the Pill Cloud Hegemon's suggestion and allowed the Shao family to stay in Lingshan County City. There was a mysterious underground tomb here that would be of great help to the Shao family's cultivation. As for Shao Chun, the underground tomb was no longer of much help to him. Frankly speaking, with the mysterious power of his bloodline, Shao Chun was a living underground tomb. Thus, staying the Shao family would not be of much use to Shao Chun. In that case, let's hurry up and leave. Judging by the time, the 5-elemental Dao Palace is about to open, said the Pill Cloud Hegemon. The 5-elemental Dao Palace was about to open. The 10 prided kings and all the other geniuses would enter. Thus, it was time for them to return to the central divine region. Hearing the Pill Cloud Hegemon's words, Shao Chun nodded his head. Then, he went to Shao Qing and by Ruyue's residence to bid farewell to his parents. After Shao Chun left, the Pill Cloud Hegemon asked seriously, "Are you sure you won't tell anyone about this?" The Pill Cloud Hegemon had no intentions of telling the other sovereigns about the Shao family. Regarding this, the Pill Cloud Hegemon seemed somewhat worried. Facing the Pill Cloud Hegemon's question, the Pill Cloud Hegemon replied nonchalantly, "No need. We can't be sure yet. Besides, even if we do, what can we do? Even you and I cannot be sure if the legend is true." Determined to keep the Shao family's matter a secret, the Pill Cloud Hegemon nodded his head slightly and said nothing more. After a night of silence, the next morning, Shao Chun and the Pill Cloud Hegemon prepared to leave. The members of the Shao family took the initiative to send them off. Looking at the Shao family, whose temperament had changed greatly, Shao Chun felt somewhat emotional. This trip had been filled with twists and turns. However, no matter what, the result was still good. Under the escort of the many members of the Shao family, Shao Chun and the Pill Cloud Hegemon left Ridge Mountain County City. As expected, they did not bring the Shao family back to Nine Firmament's palace. Instead, they accidentally opened up the underground tomb, causing a great change to the Shao family. According to the Pill Cloud Hegemon, the next time Shao Chun returned to the Shao family, he would likely be shocked. The underground tomb was not as simple as it appeared to be. Just like when they first arrived, under the guidance of Dao Sovereign Pill Cloud, the two of them quickly made their way to the central divine region. Along the way, they did not encounter any dangers. A few days later, the two of them safely returned to Nine Firmament's palace. After parting for nearly half a month, Shao Chun first returned to the Dustless residence. He found that Qin Shiru had broken through to the Earthbright realm. This made Shao Chun very happy. After breaking through, Qin Shiru seemed to have become even more beautiful. At the same time, his temperament had become even colder. Only when he was facing Shao Chun would he reveal a rare smile. Otherwise, he would have an unapproachable look on his face. As the saying goes, absence makes the heart grow fonder. That night, Shao Chun and Qin Shiru did not need to say much. The night passed in silence. The next day, Xiao Chun went to the Pill Cloud Hegemon's residence and began learning alchemy from him. This time, according to the Pill Cloud Hegemon's request, Xiao Chun could not leave until he became a mystic great alchemist. During the boring process of learning alchemy, just as the Pill Cloud Hegemon had expected, Xiao Chun's foundation became more stable. His spiritual energy also became more solid. At the same time, the Pill Cloud Hegemon was struck by the fact that Xiao Chun had only used half a month to successfully concoct a mystic grade medicinal pill. Half a month to become a mystic grade alchemist. This speed was another blow to the Pill Cloud Hegemon. Scram! After cursing, the Pill Cloud Hegemon chased Xiao Chun out. This brat was too much a blow to him. Begging for a monthly vote, begging for a recommendation. Chapter 234. Being chased away by the Pill Cloud Dominator, Xiao Chun felt depressed. Looking at Xiao Chun's back, the Pill Cloud Dominator murmured to himself, "That kid's talent seems to have improved quite a bit. Could it be because of the power of the bloodline as well?" As Xiao Chun's master, the Pill Cloud Dominator could clearly feel that Xiao Chun's talent had improved significantly after this round of concocting medicines. Xiao Chun was already one of the 10 great prides. Now that his talent had improved once more, it was hard to imagine just how great his future achievements would be. Unaware of the Pill Cloud ruler's thoughts, Xiao Chun's depression quickly dissipated after he was chased away. He had finally fulfilled the Pill Cloud ruler's request. With that, he could use the remaining time to prepare for the 5 Elemental Tao Palace. After returning to the dustless residence, Xiao Chun impatiently went to the 100 Spirits Lake. He could enter and leave the sacred cultivation ground of 9 Firmaments Palace whenever he wanted. If he wanted to make a breakthrough, the 100 Spirits Lake would be his first choice. This was not his first time there. Xiao Chun familiarly went to the 100 Spirits Lake and found a mat to sit down cross-legged. Then he began to cultivate. Originally, Xiao Chun could have broken through to minor success in the Earth Clarity Mirror Realm. However, due to the Pill Cloud ruler's request, Xiao Chun obediently studied alchemy for half a month. However, that half a month of studying alchemy was not for nothing. It allowed Xiao Chun to reach the pinnacle of minor success in the Earth Clarity Mirror Realm. Because of that half a month of studying alchemy, Xiao Chun's breakthrough came naturally. It did not take much effort for him to break through to minor success in the Earth Clarity Mirror Realm. Moreover, it was extremely stable. Xiao Chun easily broke through to the small success of the Earth Clear Mirror Realm. He was not in a hurry to leave the 100 Spirits Pool. Instead, he stayed in the pool for another 2 days. He did not leave until he had completely stabilized his cultivation. After leaving the 100 Spirits Pool, he calculated the time. There was less than half a month left before the 5 Elemental Tao Palace opened. In the remaining time, Xiao Chun planned to cultivate another Earth rank martial skill. After all, the Tai Sword Finger was the only Earth rank martial skill he had. Moreover, although the Tai Sword Finger was powerful, it consumed a terrifying amount of spiritual energy. It could only be used as a killing move. As such, he naturally needed another Earth rank martial skill to complement it. He headed straight for the Sky Sword Peaks Martial Arts Hall. While Xiao Chun was making the final preparations for the 5 Elemental Tao Palace, the other 9 prodigies were doing the same. As one of the heavenly Chan continent's 5 great divine sites, the opening of the 5 Elemental Tao Palace would undoubtedly affect the hearts of countless people. Not to mention, those who could enter this time were all geniuses. The war in the 4 regions gradually eased up and the demonic cultivators all went into hiding. The heavenly Qin continent once again seized the initiative. As such, everyone's eyes naturally fell upon the competition for the 5 Elemental Tao Palace. He went straight to the Sky Sword Peaks Martial Arts Hall. With the help of 9 Firmaments Palace, the Sky Sword Peaks Martial Arts Hall had a large number of martial skills. Additionally, the ruler of the 9 Firmaments had specially bestowed several Heaven rank and Earth rank martial skills to the Sky Sword Peak. As such, the Martial Arts Hall became the most lively place in the Sky Sword Peak. Every day, many disciples of the Sky Sword Peak would come to the martial arts hall to choose a suitable martial skill. However, if they wanted to cultivate the martial arts hall, they would need to pay a certain amount of sect contribution points. Xiao Chun, on the other hand, did not need to do so. Any martial skill, even a heaven-rank martial skill, could be cultivated by Xiao Chun at any time. He only needed to register with the martial arts hall's elder. Senior brother, Xiao Chun. After being greeted by everyone, Xiao Chun went straight to the Earth rank martial skills area. In the huge martial arts hall, the number of basic martial skills was the highest. There were several hundred of them. The profound martial skills were much fewer, only around 100. As for Earth rank martial skills, they were even rarer, less than 20. As for the top heaven rank martial skills, there were only 3 of them in the entire Sky Sword Peak's martial skills area. Those 3 were bestowed by the ruler of the 9 Firmaments Palace. After all, as one of the 9 peaks of 9 Firmaments Palace, if they did not even have a single heaven rank martial skill, they would become a laughing stock. Xiao Chun did not look at the 3 heaven rank martial skills. He knew very well that with his current cultivation level, he could not practice heaven rank martial skills. He did not have enough spiritual energy in his body. Therefore, he did not bite off more than he could chew. Instead, he chose the Earth rank martial skills. The entire Earth level martial skills area was not big, and there were not many people. One by one, they chose Earth level martial skills that were suitable for themselves. As the martial skills collected by the Sky Sword Peak, naturally, all of them were sword techniques. There were more than 20 sword techniques, which made Xiao Chun feel a little dazzled. It really felt like there were too many things to see. Fiery Dragon Kill, 100 Black Shadow Swords, Clear Windblade. Along the way, even Xiao Chun had to admit that every sword technique that could become an Earth-grade martial arts technique could be said to be incomparably exquisite, and its power was definitely not to be underestimated. However, after looking at more than 10 sword techniques in a row, Xiao Chun still had not found one that he liked. Either it was not suitable for him, he did not like it, or he did not like it. He always felt that something was missing. Continuing to choose, Xiao Chun looked at the most eye-catching spot in the Earth rank martial skills area. On a huge bookshelf, there was only one Earth rank martial skill. With a glance, one could tell that this Earth rank martial skill was extraordinary. In fact, Xiao Chun had noticed this martial art technique from the very beginning. However, after seeing the notes on the side, Xiao Chun was a little hesitant. Now, it seemed that this Earth-level martial art technique was the most suitable for him. It was called the 3 layers of overlapping waves. It was an Earth rank, upper rank martial skill. It was extremely powerful. When it was cultivated to the perfection stage, one sword strike would be like 10,000 waves sweeping towards the enemy, leaving them with nowhere to hide. However, although the 3 layers of overlapping waves had unparalleled power, it was also extremely difficult to cultivate. The difficulty of cultivating it was comparable to heaven rank martial skills. An Earth rank martial skill had the difficulty of cultivating a heaven rank martial skill. Just this point alone was enough to make many people shrink back. The difficulty was too high, but the power was not as strong as a heaven rank martial skill. In the eyes of ordinary people, it was obviously not worth it. The note at the side was very clear. It warned disciples who wanted to cultivate the 3 layers of overlapping waves to think thrice before doing so. They must not do anything useless. Very few people dared to cultivate the 3 layers of overlapping waves. However, Xiao Chun did not care. He was confident that he could cultivate the 3 layers of overlapping waves before the 5 Elements Tao Palace opened. Although the difficulty of cultivating the 3 layers of overlapping waves was comparable to a heaven rank martial skill, it was nothing to Xiao Chun with his talent. Without much hesitation, Xiao Chun directly chose the 3 layers of overlapping waves. He immediately registered with the Martial Skills Hall Elder and left with the manual. Seeking collection, seeking monthly votes, seeking recommendation. Chapter 235. After choosing the triple overlapping waves, which could be said to be the most difficult upper-grade earth-grade martial technique to cultivate, Xiao Chun began his closed-door training. However, this time, it was not to increase his cultivation base, but to cultivate martial techniques. He had to make good use of the time to cultivate the triple overlapping waves. At the same time, the Tai sword finger was only at the initial realm. He had to reach the proficient realm before the 5 elemental Dao Palace opened. Cultivating 2 upper-level earth-grade martial arts techniques at the same time in less than half a month was naturally very difficult. Even Xiao Chun was not confident that he could do it in such a short period of time. The difficulty of cultivating an earth-grade martial technique was no laughing matter. However, 10 days passed in the blink of an eye. During these 10 days, even Xiao Chun himself didn't expect that not only would he be able to cultivate the 3 layers of overlapping waves to the proficient level, he would even be able to step into the proficient level of the Tai in martial technique. If others were to learn that he had reached the proficient realm in 2 high-grade earth-tier martial skills in 10 days, their jaws would definitely drop from shock. It was no exaggeration to say that the mysterious bloodline within Xiao Chen's body played an important role in this. It was also because of the appearance of the mysterious bloodline that Xiao Chen's talent had increased greatly. Otherwise, even though Xiao Chen's original talent was extraordinary, it was absolutely impossible for him to achieve this. Xiao Chun was overjoyed that he had reached the proficient realm in both high-grade earth-tier martial skills. With this, his confidence in the competition for the 5 elemental Dao Palace would be even greater. Although the other 9 prodigies would definitely not remain stagnant, Xiao Chun was clearly ahead of them in terms of speed of improvement. With only a few days left, Xiao Chun did not plan to continue cultivating. At this time, Xiao Chun received a message from Prodigy. This prodigy was one of Xiao Chen's followers. He had sent a message to Xiao Chun that the people who had chosen to become Xiao Chen's followers had agreed to meet at the 100 Immortals house in 5 Elemental City in 3 days. At that time, Xiao Chun could find them there. The 100 Immortals house in 5 Elemental City was a branch of the 100 Immortals house. As the largest brothel in the heavenly Qin continent, the 100 Immortals house had branches in almost every major city in the Central Divine region. After receiving the message, Xiao Chun had heard a little about 5 Elemental City. In the Central Divine region, 5 Elemental City was extremely famous because it was the entrance to the 5 Elemental Dao Palace. Every time the 5 Elemental Dao Palace opened, everyone would have to enter from 5 Elemental City. Of course, when leaving, they would have to return to 5 Elemental City. Because of the 5 Elemental Dao Palace, 5 Elemental City was extremely lively. This was especially true during the period when the 5 Elemental Dao Palace opened. Regardless of whether they were qualified to enter the 5 Elemental Dao Palace, many people would come to see with their own eyes what one of the 5 great divine vestiges of the heavenly Chun continent looked like. 3 days later, they would meet at the 100 Immortals house in 5 Elemental City. With a faint smile, Xiao Chun decided to leave tomorrow. It would take him 3 days to go from 9 Firmaments Palace to the 100 Immortals house. After returning to the dustless residence, he told Qin Shiru about his departure. Qin Shiru naturally didn't say anything about it. She knew how important the 5 Elemental Dao Palace was to Xiao Chun. After chatting for a while, Xiao Chun said with some concern, "Shiru, I feel that the cold energy on your body is getting stronger and stronger. Especially after breaking through to the earth realm, even I would feel cold sometimes. How about I have Master take a look at you?" After breaking through to the earth realm, Qin Shiru's cold energy had increased by several times. Even Xiao Chun could feel traces of coldness. Worried, she wanted the Pill Cloud ruler to take a look. Hearing Xiao Chen's words, Qin Shiru, who was wearing a white muslin dress, smiled and said, "There is no need. I know my body well." In the face of Qin Shiru's insistence, Xiao Chun did not say anything else. However, unbeknownst to Xiao Chun, after breaking through to the earth realm, Qin Shiru's body had indeed undergone some changes. It was as though something had awakened. This change was very similar to the awakening of the bloodline power within Xiao Chen's body. After a silent night, early the next morning, after bidding farewell to Qin Shi, Xiao Chen rode the golden-winged great rock and left Nine Firmaments Palace, heading towards Five Elemental City. Watching Xiao Chen disappear into the horizon, a complicated look flashed across Qin Shi's eyes. He muttered softly, "Just what is awakening? And the dreams I've been having these past few days? And what is this snowfield continent?" There were indeed many things that Qin Shi was hiding for Xiao Chen. He was certain that some changes had occurred within his body. Something was about to awaken. Because of this change, even Qin Shi's personality had changed. His former gentleness was gradually fading away, replaced by an endless coldness. His eyes were filled with confusion. Xiao Chen was unaware of all this. At that moment, he was already on his way to Five Elemental City, stepping onto the stage where he would compete with the other 9 geniuses for the first time. As for the ruler of the 9 firmaments and the others, they would only appear when the 5 Elemental Dao Palace opened. After flying for 3 days, Xiao Chen finally arrived at Five Elemental City. From afar, Five Elemental City was not as big as Perpetual Joy City. After all, Perpetual Joy City was one of the largest cities in the heavenly Qin continent. However, in terms of prosperity, Five Elemental City had already surpassed Perpetual Joy City. After all, the Five Elemental Dao Palace was about to open. Cultivators from all over the world had rushed here to witness this grand occasion. Demonic beasts could not enter the city. However, there was a place outside the city that specialized in rearing them. After leaving the golden-winged great rock outside the city and paying the rearing fee, Xiao Chen stepped into Five Elemental City. Strolling along the streets, one could see that there were people everywhere at a glance. They were just like ants squeezed together. Moreover, due to the continuous influx of people, the restaurants and inns within Five Element City were all fully booked. The business of all the shops was so good that it was a complete mess. He arrived at the 100 Immortals building in Five Elemental City. As soon as he entered, a maid came to welcome him. She recognized Xiao Chen at first glance and smiled respectfully. "Prince Xiao, please come with me." Xiao Chen's followers had already arrived. The maid led him to a pavilion in the backyard. At that moment, there were already 12 young geniuses in the pavilion. When they saw Xiao Chen arrive, they all stood up and bowed respectfully. "Greetings, King Bewitching Sword." "Haha, you're too polite. Please have a seat," said Xiao Chen with a smile. Then, he walked towards the main seat and sat down. After Xiao Chen sat down, the crowd went back to their seats, begging for recommendation, begging for monthly votes. Chapter 236. Since the last time they parted at the Thousand Island Lake, everyone gathered again. This time, the 12 hangers-on under Xiao Chen were all looking at Xiao Chen with admiration. It had only been a few months since the farewell at the Thousand Island Lake, but the things that Xiao Chen had done were all talked about enthusiastically. Beating up the Li Hui King Fenglingya in Changle City and killing the demon envoy's son in East Pass City. All of these things made everyone admire him. Ever since they chose to become Xiao Chen's followers at the Thousand Island Lake, they were already in the same boat. They were bound together for good or ill. Xiao Chen was able to suppress the Li Hui King Fenglingya and kill the demon envoy's son. Everyone was also proud because they were Xiao Chen's followers. Facing the worship of his 12 followers, Xiao Chen smiled and said, "Everyone, you don't have to look at me like that. Since it's rare for us to gather together, let's have a good drink today. The upcoming trip to the Five Elements Dao Palace will probably be very difficult. I hope that everyone can bring out their true abilities." It was rare for them to gather together again, so Xiao Chen wanted to have a good time with everyone. After all, such opportunities to relax were rare. The Five Elements Dao Palace was about to begin, and it would definitely be a fierce battle. Hearing Xiao Chen's words, everyone agreed and drank to their heart's content. While Xiao Chen and his followers were drinking to their heart's content, in a private room of the 100 Immortals house in the Five Element City, the 100 Flower Fairy, who was known as the leader of the 10 beauties, actually appeared. The maid who was in charge of leading Xiao Chun to the backyard was now standing respectfully in front of the 100-flower fairy. The 100-flower fairy calmly said, "Is he here?" "Fairy, I've just arrived," the maid replied respectfully. The flower fairy was naturally here for Xiao Chun. As the leader of the 10 alluring beauties, the flower fairy had a special liking for Xiao Chun. Even the other prides of heaven were not worthy of her attention. Only Xiao Chun was able to captivate the flower fairy. Ever since they parted at the Thousand Island Lake, Flower Fairy knew everything that Xiao Chun had done. Defeating King Huijiao, killing the son of the demon envoy, all of these proved that Xiao Chun was not an ordinary person. And this was precisely what attracted Flower Fairy the most. Knowing that Xiao Chun would definitely come to Five Element City, 100 Flower Fairy came. She even used some tricks to get Xiao Chen's followers to meet at Five Element City's 100 Immortals Tower. Slowly getting up, 100 Flower Fairy walked into the inner room. She gently took off her clothes and gently walked into the wooden tub filled with flower petals. A fairy taking a bath. If any man were to see this scene, they would probably drool. Even the female servant could not help but reveal a blush on her face as she gently wiped her body and looked at her body that was enough to charm all living things. After half an hour, the flower fairy finished bathing and changed into a bright red robe. She looked like a beautiful rose, charming all living things. A faint smile hung on the corner of her mouth. "Then, young Master Zhou's matter has been settled?" "It's all done," the maid replied respectfully. Hearing the maid's reply, the flower fairy's smile became even brighter. Then, she walked out of the room. They didn't know what the flower fairy was planning. They didn't know that the flower fairy was in Five Element City. After drinking so much, Xiao Chun and the rest were a little drunk. Of course, this was also because they didn't use the spiritual energy in their bodies. Their faces were a little red. At this moment, one of them suddenly saw the flower fairy walking by. With a shocked expression, he said to Xiao Chun, "King Jiao, look, isn't that the flower fairy?" Everyone knew that the flower fairy was in love with Xiao Chun. However, Xiao Chun didn't accept her in the end. Now that they met again and heard this person's words, Xiao Chun also looked at the flower fairy. She was still as beautiful as ever. Purely based on feelings, the flower fairy was definitely more attractive to men than Qin Shi. This wasn't to say that Qin Shi wasn't as beautiful as the flower fairy, but rather that Qin Shi was too cold, while the flower fairy was as gentle as water. Seeing the flower fairy walk by from afar, Xiao Chun frowned. To be able to see her here, he was a little curious as to why the flower fairy would appear here. However, since she didn't greet him, Xiao Chun wouldn't take the initiative to approach her. Back then, he had already rejected her at the Thousand Island Lake. Xiao Chun didn't want to have too much contact with her because this woman was just too attractive. Xiao Chun was young and impetuous. It was normal for sparks to fly between them, so it was best to stay away from her. The flower fairy's appearance was just a small gap. Along with her disappearance, the group didn't think too much about it. After a round of drinking, the group prepared to leave. As for the place to rest, it had already been arranged, so Xiao Chun didn't need to worry about it. Did you guys hear? Today, young Master Zhou invited the flower fairy, and the flower fairy actually agreed. Oh my God, are you serious? The flower fairy really agreed to young Master Zhou's invitation? How could it be fake? I personally saw the flower fairy enter the private room in the backyard. Just as they were about to leave, Xiao Chun and the others heard the news. The flower fairy actually went to accompany some young Master Zhou. Hearing this news, Xiao Chen's retainers were immediately enraged. What kind of joke was this? The head of the 10 alluring beauties, flower fairy, actually went to accompany another man. Humans were selfish and overbearing. Although Xiao Chun had rejected the flower fairy, in the eyes of the crowd, the flower fairy could only belong to Xiao Chun, and only Xiao Chun was worthy of her. Compared to the raging crowd, Xiao Chun's expression was very calm. However, a cold glint flashed in his eyes, which quickly disappeared. Looking at the enraged crowd, Xiao Chun said indifferently, "Let's go." King Jiao, the flower fairy, is now. Seeing that Xiao Chun didn't seem to care about this matter, one of the retainers said anxiously, "What does it have to do with me?" Hearing this, Xiao Chun said indifferently, and then walked out of the 100 Immortals' house. There weren't many changes because of the flower fairy's matter. Although there was a trace of discomfort in his heart, it was nothing more than that. Xiao Chun left. Seeing this, Xiao Chen's retainers looked at each other, and then helplessly chased after him. In their hearts, they were puzzled. Towards a peerless beauty like the flower fairy, was Xiao Chun really not moved at all? If it was any other man who heard that the flower fairy was with another man, perhaps they would have already gone crazy. However, Xiao Chun was actually so calm. Not caring about this, Xiao Chun walked at the front, and at this moment, a helpless smile hung on the corner of his mouth. In just a moment, Xiao Chun knew that this matter was deliberately arranged by the flower fairy. Looking for collection, looking for monthly votes, looking for recommendations. Chapter 237. With a single glance, he could see through Flower Fairy's little scheme. Sit and accompany that young Master Zhou? Was that even possible? One had to know that even a genius wouldn't be able to make Flower Fairies sit and accompany them. This young Master Zhou, who came out of nowhere, actually made Flower Fairies sit and accompany them. What a joke. The only explanation was that the whole thing was self-directed by Flower Fairy, and that young Master Zhou was just following her orders. As for why Flower Fairy did this, it was obviously because of Xiao Chun. She wanted to make Xiao Chun jealous. She traveled thousands of miles from the Thousand Island Lake to Five Element City and even directed and acted out this farce. Her goal was to make him jealous. Along the way, Xiao Chun smiled helplessly. Everyone said that Flower Fairy was not only beautiful, but also unparalleled in intelligence. She could be called a perfect woman, but why was she so childish this time? However, it was precisely because of this childishness that Flower Fairy showed her cute side, as well as her feelings for Xiao Chun. Otherwise, she wouldn't have done this. On the way back to their residence, Xiao Chun and the others lived in a separate courtyard rented by a retainer. It wasn't big, but it was enough to satisfy Xiao Chun and the others' daily needs. In addition, they couldn't stay here for long. At most, in 5 or 6 days, the Tao Palace of 5 Elements would open. At that time, they would have to enter the Tao Palace of 5 Elements. They directly returned to their residence. At the same time, Flower Fairy, who was in the 100 Immortals' house, heard the news. Her pretty face immediately sank, and she shouted, "Damn Xiao Chun, stinky wood, rotten wood," anger overflowed. Opposite Flower Fairy was a handsome young man with an extraordinary temperament. At this time, he was somewhat nervous and didn't know whether to stand or sit. He was the so-called Mr. Zhou. His status was not bad, but it was only limited to the 5 Elements city. Originally, the whole thing was just as Xiao Chun thought, a plot directed and acted by Flower Fairy. Unfortunately, as the main character, Xiao Chun did not follow the script at all and left directly. As a result, Flower Fairy naturally could not continue with the act. After a series of curses, 100 Flower Fairy coldly glanced at young Master Zhou and mercilessly shouted, "Scram!" Poor young Master Zhou. At this moment, he had become 100 Flower Fairy's punching bag. However, he didn't dare to complain and quickly left the room. After shouting at young Master Zhou, Flower Fairy became angrier and angrier. Damn Xiao Chun. Was she so unbearable? He wasn't even willing to look at her. One must know that in the entire heavenly Qin continent, with one word from Flower Fairy, there were countless people who would be willing to go through water and tread on fire for her. However, Xiao Chun completely ignored her, which was a huge blow to Flower Fairy's heart. After cursing Xiao Chun repeatedly in her heart, Flower Fairy angrily left 100 Immortals' tower and went straight to Xiao Chun's residence. The residence of Xiao Chun and the others was not far from the 100 Immortals' house. Soon, 100 Flower Fairy arrived outside the courtyard. A guest opened the door for her. When he saw that it was 100 Flower Fairy, he immediately let her in with a knowing look on his face. Flower Fairy must be here to look for the Demon Sword King. He's in the East Room. He didn't stop her and even took the initiative to tell her where Xiao Qin's room was. Hearing this, Flower Fairy smiled at him. Seeing this, a look of infatuation appeared on the guest's face. It wasn't until Flower Fairy left that he slowly regained his senses. Xiao Chun didn't expect Flower Fairy to come directly to his door. At this time, he was cultivating with his eyes closed. Suddenly, the door was pushed open and Flower Fairy angrily walked in. When she saw Xiao Chun, she immediately scolded. "Xiao Chun, you've gone too far. Am I so unbearable in your eyes? You're not even willing to look at me. Is that it?" She scolded angrily. However, as she spoke, tears welled up in her eyes. Seeing this, Xiao Chun was speechless. In the entire heavenly Qin continent, there weren't many people who dared to barge into Xiao Qin's residence and scold him. There were only a few demon sword kings. Now, there was Flower Fairy. Moreover, facing her scolding, Xiao Chun couldn't do anything. After all, he couldn't beat her up, right? Looking at Flower Fairy's tear-stained face, Xiao Chun felt helpless. He stood up and walked in front of Flower Fairy with a complicated expression. "Why do you say that? You're as beautiful as a fairy. I've always been unable to match up to you." He really didn't want to have too much to do with Flower Fairy. First of all, he already had Qin Shiru. Although polygamy was common in heavenly Qin continent, Xiao Chun didn't want to break Qin Shiru's heart. Moreover, he didn't want to spend too much energy on relationships. Since Flower Fairy was here today, he might as well make things clear. Thinking about this, Xiao Chun opened his mouth. His words were very direct. Hearing this, Flower Fairy fell silent. Her expression kept changing. Regarding this, Xiao Chun didn't know what to say. He could only stand to the side and choose to remain silent. Since he had already said this, he believed that Flower Fairy should be able to understand. After a long while, Flower Fairy finally stopped crying. The look in her eyes gradually became firm, as if she had made up her mind about something. Looking at Xiao Chun, Flower Fairy shouted as if she had used all of her strength to do so. "Xiao Chun, I like you. I just like you. In Thousand Island Lake, I fell in love with you the first time I saw you. Today, I'll tell you, I'll stick to you for the rest of my life. I don't care what you think, I just like you. I want to marry you. You can't get rid of me. You can't get rid of me." The dignified leader of the 10 beauties of the 100 Immortals house, Fairy 100 Flower, was actually acting shamelessly at this moment. After saying those words, Fairy 100 Flower's face turned incomparably red. Clearly, such a blatant confession had caused Fairy 100 Flower to feel ashamed and indignant. However, she did not regret it. Back when they parted ways at the Thousand Island Lake, she had tried to forget Xiao Chun. Unfortunately, she did not succeed. Instead, she missed Xiao Chun more and more. There were several times when Fairy 100 Flower wanted to personally head to Nine Firmament's palace to look for Xiao Chun. He looked at Flower Fairy with a dumbfounded expression. He had never thought that Flower Fairy, the woman of countless people's dreams, would say such words. As the two of them were in a daze, Xiao Chun, who had his back facing the window, did not notice that there was a man in black clothes hiding outside his window. Seeing Xiao Chun in a daze, killing intent flashed out from the man's eyes. With a swing of his right hand, a poisonous throwing knife shot toward Xiao Chun with lightning-like speed. Someone wanted to assassinate Xiao Chun. The moment the man in black made his move, the face of Flower Fairy, who was standing before Xiao Chun, sank. Without any time to consider, she instinctively pushed Xiao Chun away, allowing him to avoid the fatal attack. Unfortunately, the throwing knife did not hit Xiao Chun. Instead, it pierced into Flower Fairy's chest. Begging for collection, begging for monthly votes, begging for recommendations. Chapter 238. At this critical moment, Flower Fairy did not consider her own safety at all. She only wanted to save Xiao Chun. Seeing Flower Fairy's blood splatter, Xiao Chun quickly reacted. He grabbed Flower Fairy by the waist, his face full of worry. At the same time, Flower Fairy's face quickly turned pale. Clearly, the poison on the flying dagger had begun to spread all over her body. Realizing that the flying dagger was actually soaked in poison, Xiao Chen's expression changed drastically. At the same time, Xiao Chen also noticed the black-clothed man hiding outside the window. Clearly, the black-clothed man had been hiding here for quite some time. His ability to hide his aura was superb. Previously, this black-clothed man had seized a moment when he was distracted to attack. If 100 Flower Fairy had not risked her life to save him, he probably would not have been able to dodge that fatal blow. Seeing that Xiao Chen was not injured at all, and that 100 Flower Fairy had blocked that fatal blow for him, a trace of disappointment flashed across the black-clothed man's eyes. At the same time, Xiao Chen, who was in the room, suddenly exploded with a powerful force. The powerful force instantly destroyed the entire room. Holding 100 Flower Fairy in his arms, Xiao Chen looked coldly at the black-clothed man. His eyes were overflowing with killing intent as he said, "Speak. Who are you?" His killing intent had reached its peak. In response to Xiao Chen's question, the black-clothed man did not answer. What responded to Xiao Chen was the appearance of over 100 black-clothed men in the surrounding darkness. There was still a backup plan? Seeing the appearance of over 100 black-clothed men, Xiao Chen already knew that this was a meticulously planned assassination. And the target of this assassination was obviously him. Such a huge change naturally alarmed the 12 prodigy hangers-on under Xiao Chen. At this moment, the 12 of them broke out of their rooms. When they saw that the small courtyard had been surrounded by over 100 black-clothed men, their expressions changed drastically. In Five Elements City, there was actually someone who dared to attack King Jiao. This was simply insane. However, these black-clothed men clearly did not give Xiao Chen a chance. Almost at the same time, over 100 Sky Realm black-clothed men charged toward Xiao Chen. Their target was only Xiao Chen, so they had no interest in Xiao Chen's hangers-on. Everyone's target was Xiao Chen. King Jiao, be careful. Seeing Xiao Chen being surrounded by so many black-clothed men, one of the hangers-on called out. Hearing this, Xiao Chen threw 100 Flower Fairy to this person and coldly said, "Take care of her." After instructing one of the hangers-on to take care of 100 Flower Fairy, Xiao Chen's storage ring flashed with light. The Crimson Edge sword instantly appeared in his hand, and he instantly used the dragon transformation. Facing over 100 Sky Realm black-clothed men, Xiao Chen did not hold back at all. In addition, at this moment, the killing intent in Xiao Chen's heart was exploding. No matter who these black-clothed men were, they were all going to die today. Facing over 100 black-clothed men by himself, even if Xiao Chen still had 12 prodigy hangers-on with him, as they were not King Jiao, they obviously could not kill someone who was an entire cultivation level higher than them. Therefore, even if these 12 prodigies fought to the death, they could only hold off one black-clothed assassin at most. Xiao Chen would still have to face the majority of the black-clothed men himself. "Attack! Kill Xiao Chen, quick!" One of the black-clothed men coldly shouted. In response, Xiao Chen directly pointed his finger and used the Chun Jun sword finger. Sword shadows filled the sky and instantly enveloped the black-clothed man. Trapped in the sky full of sword shadows, even with his Sky Realm cultivation, this black-clothed man did not last long before he was killed by Xiao Chen. No matter who you are, you will all die today. After killing one of the black-clothed men, Xiao Chen did not advance. Instead, he retreated and immediately engaged in a fierce battle with these black-clothed men. He could not forget the scene of 100 Flower Fairy blocking a blade for him. If Xiao Chen could still ignore 100 Flower Fairy before, he obviously could not do so now. After experiencing this incident, 100 Flower Fairy had already entered Xiao Chen's heart. At the same time, Xiao Chen also felt a faint trace of affection for 100 Flower Fairy. Faced with such a perfect woman, he believed that no man would refuse. Moreover, 100 Flower Fairy had saved his life and did not hesitate to block a blade for him. How could Xiao Chen not be moved by this? After a fierce battle, Xiao Chen's combat strength clearly exceeded the black-clothed men's expectations. At the same time, after the battle, Xiao Chen also confirmed the identities of these black-clothed men. They were demonic cultivators. These hundreds of black-clothed men were all demonic cultivators. Demonic cultivators had set up a trap to assassinate him. Soon, Xiao Chun guessed that all of this was probably the demon envoy's idea. He had killed the son of a demon envoy in Easter Pass City, and the demon envoy wanted revenge. However, all this time, the Pill Cloud Dominator had been protecting him, so it was difficult for the demon envoy to take action. Moreover, the Heavenly Chun continent was very strict with the investigation of demonic cultivators. It was not possible to sneak into the Central Divine region or Five-Element City secretly. Therefore, the demon envoy had mobilized hundreds of Celestial Realm demonic cultivators to kill him. Originally, the demon envoy thought that mobilizing hundreds of Celestial Realm demonic cultivators would be enough to kill Xiao Chun, let alone assassinate him. However, the demon envoy clearly did not expect Xiao Chun's combat strength to be so strong. Moreover, in the first attack, 100 Flower Fairy blocked the most dangerous blade for Xiao Chun in the face of a sure-kill attack. Xiao Chun was fighting against hundreds of Celestial Realm demonic cultivators all by himself. It was only at this moment that Xiao Chun showed his true strength. His eyes were scarlet. Under the effect of the dragon transformation, he looked like a human-shaped Tyrannosaurus. Every strike of his was immensely powerful. Xiao Chun did not care about his injuries at all. The only thing on his mind was to kill. The murderous intent in his heart made Xiao Chun want to kill all the black-clad men in front of him. Damn it, this kid's combat strength, the intelligence was wrong. Xiao Chun's absolute fighting prowess made these demonic cultivators turn pale with fright. According to the information they had, the limit of the fighting prowess of the top 10 prides was equivalent to that of an ordinary warrior of the Celestial Realm, and this was under the condition that they had used their secret techniques. But now, in the face of hundreds of Celestial Realm demonic cultivators, Xiao Chun could actually do this. Although he had also suffered serious injuries, Xiao Chun had already killed 3 Celestial Realm demonic cultivators in less than 100 breaths of time since the battle began. He was no longer equivalent to a Celestial Realm demonic cultivator, but capable of killing a Celestial Realm demonic cultivator. The difference between the two could be said to be the difference between heaven and earth. They had completely underestimated Xiao Chun's combat strength. In other words, the demonic cultivators had underestimated the growth rate of the 10 prides. Being able to match a Celestial Realm demonic cultivator was the combat strength of the 10 prides a few months ago. Now that several months had passed, the 10 prides naturally could not remain in the same place. Although several months might be a short period of time for an ordinary demonic cultivator, it was enough for the 10 prides to make a qualitative leap. Therefore, the current Celestial Realm demonic cultivator could only be insta-killed in front of the 10 prides. Please collect, vote, recommend. Chapter 239. Faced with the attacks of more than 100 Celestial Being Realm demonic cultivators, Xiao Chun's eyes were completely bloodshot. Even so, with such a huge gap in numbers, Xiao Chun gradually fell into a disadvantageous position and began to show signs of fatigue. On the other hand, the 100 Shoma cultivators quickly calmed down after the panic just now. These people could be said to be men of sacrifice. In order to kill Xiao Chun, they had secretly sneaked into Five-Element City. From the moment the operation began, these more than 100 demonic cultivators had never thought that they could leave alive, because whether they succeeded or not, they had already been exposed. There was no chance for them to leave Five-Element City alive. It was precisely because they no longer cared about their own lives that these hundreds of demonic cultivators were completely blinded by bloodlust. No matter what, they had to kill the Demon Sword King Xiao Chun today. This was the order of the Demon Envoy. They were gradually losing. There was no other way. No matter how strong Xiao Chun was, he was still only at the initial success of the Earth Realm. Facing over 100 Sky Realm cultivators, he naturally had no hope of winning. The difference was too great. Now, Xiao Chun could only stall for time until the experts from Five-Element City arrived. Don't waste time. Kill him, quick. Knowing that they couldn't drag on for too long, one of the Shioma cultivators coldly shouted. Just as he finished speaking, a black figure flashed past and immediately joined the battle. He was dressed in black and wore a pair of black metal gloves on his fists. He was the godly fist prodigy, Lin Na, of the 10 prodigies. Because the 5-element Tao Palace was about to open, the 10 Godly Fist King and their followers were all in 5-element city. The Godly Fist King Lin Nua's residence was not far from Xiao Chen's, so after noticing the change, Lin Nua immediately rushed over and chose to join the battle without any hesitation. Another King of Prides had arrived. Moreover, Lin Nua's strength had clearly improved by leaps and bounds compared to several months ago. His 2 fists were like 2 dragons emerging from a sea. Caught off guard, the Shioma cultivator's heart was immediately shattered, and he died on the spot. Lin Nua killed a person in 1 move. Seeing this, the 100 Shioma cultivators were once again stunned. Were the 10 godly fist kings of the Tianxin continent all monsters? How could he grow to such an extent in just a few months? The demonic cultivators attached great importance to the 10 prides of the heavenly Chun continent. Therefore, the information on them was constantly updated. But now, the 10 prides of the heavenly Chun continent were growing faster than the demonic cultivators could gather information on them. How terrifying was that? Lin Nua smiled at Xiao Chan and said, "Brother Xiao, it shouldn't be a problem for me to intervene in such a lively situation, right?" Lin Nua had also guessed the identity of these black-clothed men, so he didn't hold back at all. Everyone had the right to kill a demonic cultivator, not to mention that he, Lin Nua, was a proud king, the leader of the younger generation. As soon as Lin Nua said this, before Xiao Chun could reply, a loud laugh rang out from the dark night. Haha, how can I miss out on such a lively event? Along with this voice, the barbarian king Huanggu rushed out from the darkness like a wild beast. With a mountain-suppressing lean, he instantly sent a demonic cultivator flying. The sound of bones breaking resounded as the demonic cultivator spat out a mouthful of blood. Immediately, the demonic cultivator died. Another proud king had arrived. It was obvious that the ambush here had attracted a lot of attention. Seeing more and more people coming, the demonic cultivators became more and more anxious. Their attacks became even more ruthless. No matter what, they had to kill Xiao Chun today. Otherwise, they would have died for nothing. 3 proud kings had already appeared. However, this was only the beginning. In just a few short breaths, an intoxicating flute sound rang out. A demonic cultivator seemed to have lost his mind as he stood there with a dull look in his eyes. Then, a young man wearing a blue robe walked out from the darkness and casually twisted the demonic cultivator's head off. The immortal music proud king Gumu, the 4th proud king, had appeared. The immortal music proud king's reputation was indeed well-deserved. He effortlessly twisted the head of a heaven realm demonic cultivator. I say, why did you guys come so quickly? And Brother Xiao, what did you do? Did you dig up the ancestral graves of demonic cultivators? Why are there so many demonic cultivators here to kill you? Gumu's appearance was followed by a gentle voice. The voice was like a spring breeze. However, a fire dragon descended from the sky and instantly burned a demonic cultivator into nothingness. The burning spear proud King Huangfu Ao had arrived. Demon sword Xiao Chun, godly fist Lin Nua, barbarian King Huanggu, immortal music Gumu, and burning spear Huangfu Ao, a total of 5 proud kings had appeared. Just as Huangfu Ao's voice fell, several golden talismans shot out from the darkness and accurately hit a demonic cultivator. With a boom, a powerful force directly blew the demonic cultivator into pieces. Brother Xiao, did you really dig up the ancestral graves of demonic cultivators? You actually didn't hesitate to come to 5-element city to kill you. Heavenly lightning proud King Lan Xie Ao appeared. 6 proud kings had appeared. However, this wasn't the end. After Lan Xie Ao's appearance, Bloodwood proud King Mu, distant fire proud King Fengling Ye, and snow fairy Ouyang Roshua. These 3 proud kings had also appeared. The wood fusion palm shot out, and the huge blood-red palm directly killed a demonic Xiaoma. As for the Lihor proud king, Fenglingye, he flicked his finger, and a heavenly flame shot out, instantly killing another demonic Xiaoma. As for Ouyang Roshue, she lightly danced with her longsword. Wherever her sword light enveloped, snowflakes floated down from the sky. These seemingly soft and beautiful snowflakes were incomparably sharp. They instantly cut a demonic cultivator into pieces. 9 proud kings had appeared. Only the immortal sword Guduya hadn't appeared yet. After killing the demonic cultivator in front of him, Mu faintly smiled and said, "Everyone's here. Only Brother Gudu isn't here. Sorry, I'm a little late. However, it's no big deal." Just as Mu's voice fell, Guduya descended from the sky with a sword in hand. With a slash, the sharp sword light instantly killed the demonic cultivator. Following Guduya's appearance, the 10 proud kings had all gathered. Moreover, from a short exchange just now, it wasn't hard to see that the 10 proud kings had grown a lot in the past few months. They were far from what they were at the Thousand Island Lake. Although the 10 proud kings' cultivations were only at the initial mastery of the Earth Mirror realm, in terms of true battle strength, they could probably easily suppress Sky Realm martial artists. Facing the encirclement of more than 100 demonic cultivators, the 10 proud kings didn't mind at all. Looking at the crowd, Xiao Chun didn't say anything. Xiao Chun was in a very bad mood. Without wasting any time, Xiao Chun directly charged towards the demonic cultivators. When Xiao Chun made his move, Huangfu Ao also said with a hint of playfulness, "Let's see who can kill more demonic cultivators." "Sure. Haha. Then I won't hold back." Chapter 240. Against over 100 demonic cultivators, the 10 prides had actually started a competition. Hearing the crowd's words, the demonic cultivators were furious. They had been completely underestimated. Immediately, a demonic cultivator shouted coldly, "Courting death. Kill them all. If we can eliminate the 10 prides in one fell swoop, it would be a supreme honor." The 10 prides were indeed heaven-defying. However, the current situation was 10 against 100. Under such circumstances, the 10 prides were still so arrogant. They were simply courting death. The two sides engaged in a fierce battle. After the 10 prides had appeared one after another, the prides and mercenaries who had been fighting a bloody battle seemed to have nothing to do now. The demonic cultivators also seemed to have no interest in them, only wanting to kill the 10 prides. Watching the intense battle, a demonic cultivator said in a daze, "Do you think we can win?" It was simply too exaggerated. 10 against 100, and it was a battle of a higher realm. Could they really win? Their gazes were all fixed on the battle before them. It wasn't just the demonic cultivators. The experts of 5 Elements City, who had already arrived in the sky, didn't make a move either. They were similarly stunned as they watched the battle between the 10 prides and the demonic cultivators below. 3 men and 1 woman, all of whom were at the Tao Gate realm. The 4 Tao Gate realm experts were similarly shocked as they watched the battle below. Among them, the beautiful woman couldn't help but exclaim, "So this is the prides? To think that they could grow to such an extent in just a few months." Hearing the beautiful woman's words, the middle-aged man beside her said, "It's only been a short time since the Thousand Island Lake, and the 10 prides can already suppress Sky human stage cultivators with ease. This growth speed is simply ridiculous. It seems that ever since the 10 prides appeared, their strength would increase by a level every time they appear," another person said. "They were originally here to rescue, but from the current situation, it seemed like they didn't need to do anything." The 10 prides were completely capable of killing these demonic cultivators. 10 people had slaughtered nearly 100 demonic cultivators. This was simply too shocking. Not to mention that the 10 great prodigies were only at the initial success of the Earth Mirror realm. Even if 10 Sky Realm cultivators came, they would probably not be a match for this group of demonic cultivators at the same cultivation level. However, the 10 great prodigies had done it. As the battle continued, the 10 great geniuses were also injured one after another. However, in comparison, the demonic cultivators suffered even greater losses. Nearly half of them had been killed, leaving less than 60 people alive. 10 martial artists of the initial success of the Earth Mirror realm had actually killed more than 40 martial artists of the Celestial realm. If they had not seen it with their own eyes, who would have believed that this was no longer as simple as a battle between martial artists of a higher realm? The fourth one. Brother Huangfu, aren't you going to do your best? You're the one who suggested this competition. If we end up at the bottom, it won't look good. Huangfu laughed loudly as he held the head of a demonic cultivator in his hand. Then he looked at Huangfu Ao, who was engaged in a fierce battle with the other demonic cultivators. Huangfu had already killed 4 demonic cultivators. Upon hearing Huangfu's words, Huangfu Ao's spear shot out like a dragon. Raging flames burned the sky as he stabbed out, instantly killing the demonic cultivator in front of him. I've also killed 4, Huangfu Ao said to Huangfu with a smile after killing the demonic cultivator. It could be said that the 10 great prodigies had used all their means. It was also in this fierce battle that the 10 great prodigies had displayed their strength to the extreme. Witnessing the fierce battle with their own eyes, the elite hangers-on felt a sense of helplessness in their hearts. Back at the Thousand Island Lake, the 10 great prodigies were already far ahead of the other geniuses. However, in just a few short months, the 10 great prodigies had actually improved so much. The gap between them had grown even wider. They couldn't even bring themselves to compete with the 10 great prodigies. The 10 great prodigies' growth rate was so fast that the other geniuses couldn't keep up with them. If this continued, it wouldn't be long before the 10 great prodigies would truly break away from the other geniuses. After all, the other geniuses wouldn't be able to stand on the same level as them. As the battle became more and more intense, the 10 great prodigies killed more and more demonic cultivators. However, in this fierce battle, the 10 great prodigies' injuries naturally became more and more serious. There were still over 40 demonic cultivators left. At this moment, the 4 Dowgate realm experts, standing proudly in the sky, didn't just stand by and watch. Although the 10 great prodigies might be able to kill the 40 demonic cultivators with the current situation, the 10 great prodigies would definitely be severely injured if they did so. The 5 Elemental Tao Palace was about to open, and it wouldn't be a good thing for the 10 great prodigies to be injured at this moment. Therefore, the 4 Dowgate realm experts chose to take action at this moment. For terrifying auras descended from the sky. Sensing the auras, the 40 demonic cultivators who were lucky enough to survive immediately had a drastic change in expression as they cried out in shock. Dowgate realm experts, die, you scoundrels. With a furious roar, the 4 Dowgate realm experts appeared one after another. When the Dowgate realm experts took action, it quickly turned into a massacre. In the hands of the Dowgate realm experts, the demonic cultivators who were only at the Sky realm had no room to resist at all. In less than 10 minutes, they were all slaughtered by the 4 Dowgate realm experts. At the end of the battle, the 10 great prodigies were all bathed in blood, but there was a faint smile on each of their faces. After this battle, the 10 great prodigies had shown the world their growth over the past few months. At the same time, the gap between them and the other 10 great prodigies hadn't widened. This was what made them the happiest. After all, in the entire heavenly Chun continent, only the 10 great prodigies could make them feel some joy. It was much more interesting to have 100 flowers blooming together than to have a single branch standing out. It seems like everyone hasn't slacked off during this period of time. This is what makes it interesting. It seems like the 5 Elemental Tao Palace won't be so boring. Lin Nuo, the King of Divine Fist, laughed out loud. Is that so? Brother Lin, you have to be careful. If you become the weakest existence in the 5 Elemental Tao Palace, then it won't be interesting. Hearing Lin Nuo's words, Huangfu Ao laughed. After the battle, the Kings of Prides teased and laughed with each other. But soon, everyone noticed Xiao Chun. At this moment, Xiao Chun had already arrived in front of the 100-flower fairy. Looking at the dying 100-flower fairy, Xiao Qin's expression was still extremely gloomy. It didn't change in the slightest because of the victory of the battle. She's poisoned. At this moment, Ouyang Roshue had unknowingly appeared behind Xiao Qin. Looking at the pale face of the 100-flower fairy, she said, "As the daughter of Dao Master Dinyun and the king of Heaven Dan Valley, Ouyang Roshue could naturally see that the 100-flower fairy was poisoned." As soon as she finished speaking, without waiting for Xiao Qin's reply, Ouyang Roshue walked over to the 100-flower fairy and bent down to check on her condition. "Please collect, vote, recommend." Chapter 241. As someone who had been in contact with alchemy since young, Xiao Qin was clearly inferior to Ouyang Roshue in terms of alchemy. However, even Ouyang Roshue shook her head helplessly after a careful examination of 100-flower fairy's injuries. "I can't tell what poison she was poisoned with, so I can't cure it." Even 100-flower fairy couldn't tell what poison Ouyang Roshue was poisoned with. Hearing this, everyone who had arrived behind Xiao Qin had a heavy expression. Even Ouyang Roshue couldn't cure the poison. This was equivalent to sentencing 100-flower fairy to death. They fell into silence. Xiao Qin did not reply after Fairy of 100 Flowers finished speaking. He gently embraced Fairy of 100 Flowers in his arms. At the same time, feeling Xiao Qin's embrace, Fairy of 100 Flowers forced a smile. "Don't you hate me?" After this incident, Xiao Qin's attitude towards her had changed greatly. Before, he was respectful and distant, but now he was extremely gentle. 100-Flower Fairy liked this feeling very much. Although she might die soon, if she could leave a place in Xiao Qin's heart that belonged to her, 100-Flower Fairy wouldn't regret it. Who would have thought that 100-Flower Fairy, the head of the 10 beauties of the 100 Immortals Tower, would be such an infatuated woman? Love at first sight, love for life. After seeing Xiao Qin for the first time, 100-Flower Fairy couldn't forget Xiao Qin. This time, Xiao Qin didn't avoid 100-Flower Fairy's love. He gently stroked her hair and leaned over to kiss her forehead. Finally, Xiao Qin said softly, "What a silly girl." Hearing Xiao Qin's words, 100-Flower Fairy smiled, her face full of happiness. Even though her life was coming to an end, she finally made Xiao Qin accept her. Although she was still somewhat unwilling, 100-Flower Fairy was already very happy. The lovers finally got married, but it was a pity that this warmth only bloomed for a moment. As 100-Flower Fairy's breath became weaker and weaker, everyone present could only watch as this peerless fairy passed away. "Xiao Qin, I'm so tired. I want to sleep for a while." 100-Flower Fairy's eyes were slowly closing as she murmured softly. Hearing 100-Flower Fairy's words, Xiao Qin said softly, "Okay, I'll accompany you." Xiao Qin did not know what to say. All he could do was to stay by Flower Fairy's side. While they were talking, the blood on Xiao Qin's body inadvertently dripped onto the corner of Flower Fairy's mouth and flowed into her mouth. The drop of blood was swallowed by Flower Fairy. To everyone's surprise, Flower Fairy's face actually became rosy. Although the poison was still there, her face was no longer pale. Xiao Qin, facing this change, even Ouyang Roshue was astonished. She seemed to have guessed something. Xiao Qin's blood can detoxify the poison. Xiao Qin also noticed the change in 100-Flower Fairy and was slightly surprised. Soon after, he recalled that he had a mysterious bloodline power in his body. Could it be that the power of his bloodline had taken effect? Xiao Qin wasn't sure if his bloodline power could save 100-Flower Fairy, but even if there was only a slim chance, he still wanted to try. Without thinking too much, Xiao Qin carried the unconscious 100-Flower Fairy and said to the surrounding people, "Thank you everyone for today. I'll treat everyone to a drink next time." The appearance of the 9 prides today was indeed a great help. If not, Xiao Qin wouldn't have been able to defeat those demonic cultivators by himself. Without waiting for a reply, Xiao Qin directly carried 100-Flower Fairy into the room. Naturally, the crowd didn't say anything and quickly dispersed. As for the corpses on the ground, the people of 5-Element City would deal with them. Everyone left one after another. In the room, Xiao Chun placed 100-Flower Fairy on the bed and used a small knife to cut open a wound on his wrist. A stream of warm blood flowed out from the wound and flowed directly into 100-Flower Fairy's mouth. That drop of blood just now was enough to make 100-Flower Fairy's face rosy. And now, Xiao Chun was clearly feeding 100-Flower Fairy his blood without any regard for the consequences. As the blood continuously flowed into her body, 100-Flower Fairy's face became increasingly rosy. In less than 100 breaths, she had already returned to normal. While feeding her blood, Xiao Chun checked on 100-Flower Fairy's changes. His face gradually revealed a trace of joy. It worked. His blood could indeed cure the poison in 100-Flower Fairy's body. Although the speed was a little slow, but Xiao Chun could clearly feel that the poison in 100-Flower Fairy's body was constantly being broken down and purified. It worked, it really worked. After confirming that his blood could really save 100-Flower Fairy, Xiao Chun was wild with joy. Ignoring the rapid loss of blood, Xiao Chun even actively circulated the spiritual energy in his body to force out his blood and feed it to 100-Flower Fairy. After a full hour, after confirming that the poison in 100-Flower Fairy's body had disappeared, Xiao Chun finally stopped. However, because he had lost too much blood, Xiao Chun was now very weak. His face was pale and his breath was extremely weak. After swallowing a healing pill, he didn't pay too much attention to his own condition. He was just a little weak. On the other hand, 100-Flower Fairy could finally rest assured. Her face was frighteningly pale, but a faint smile hung on the corner of her mouth. Gently stroking 100-Flower Fairy's long hair, Xiao Chun said with a smile, "Silly girl, if I don't allow you to die, you can't die." After saying that, Xiao Chun sat cross-legged on the bed and began to recuperate. After a night of silence, when the next morning came, 100-Flower Fairy, who had been unconscious for the whole night, slowly opened her eyes. She looked at her surroundings in confusion and softly muttered, "Am I dead?" She thought she was dead, but when she saw Xiao Chun sitting cross-legged with his eyes closed, 100-Flower Fairy was first stunned. After regaining her senses, she shouted in surprise, "Xiao Chun!" She didn't expect to see Xiao Chun again. Hearing 100-Flower Fairy's voice, Xiao Chun also slowly opened his eyes and smiled. "You're awake." "I'm..." "Silly girl, you're not dead yet." Perhaps because she was surprised that she didn't die, after staring blankly for a while, 100-Flower Fairy suddenly rushed into Xiao Chun's arms and hugged Xiao Chun tightly with tears in her eyes. After surviving a great disaster, she could be together with Xiao Chun again. This made 100-Flower Fairy so happy that she cried. Her tears wet Xiao Chun's clothes. Gently patting 100-Flower Fairy's back, Xiao Chun comforted her softly. Okay, the head of the 10 alluring beauties, 100-Flower Fairy, looking like this, wouldn't outsiders laugh their heads off if they saw it? I don't care." Hearing Xiao Chun's words, 100-Flower Fairy cutely pouted and said, still unwilling to let go of Xiao Chun, "Please add, please vote, please recommend." Chapter 242. 100-Flower Fairy had finally managed to enter Xiao Chun's heart after surviving the calamity and experiencing this incident. After being lovey-dovey in the room for a while, the two of them finally walked out of the room when one of Xiao Chun's followers arrived. She had already changed into a brand-new red dress. After dressing up, Fairy of 100 Flowers was still as alluring as ever. She snuggled up to Xiao Chun and watched as the two of them walked out of the room side by side. The guest who had been waiting outside the door was stunned at first, but he soon spoke respectfully. "King Jiao, King Blazing Jiao, will be hosting a banquet at the 100 Immortals' house tonight. He has specially sent someone to invite you." The 10 great prodigies gathered in 5 Elements City once again, and there were still a few days before the opening of the 5 Elements Dao Palace. Thus, Sky-Scorching Prodigy King had invited the 10 great prodigies and their followers to a banquet at the 100 Immortals restaurant. Xiao Chun smiled faintly when he heard this. He agreed without much thought. Now that 100-Flower Fairy was fine, there was nothing wrong with attending Huangfu Ao's banquet. Seeing that Xiao Chun had nodded, The Heaven's chosen mercenary quickly replied to Huangfu Ao, saying that he would die together with Xiao Chun. After the battle last night, this small courtyard was obviously uninhabitable. The five-element city had also arranged a new residence for Xiao Chun. Under the guidance of the Heaven's chosen mercenary, Xiao Chun arrived at the new courtyard. It was still small, but it was sufficient. Moreover, it was unknown if it was for safety reasons, but the five-element city had actually dispatched a Daogate realm expert to guard the residences of the 10 great prides. After moving to the new residence, Xiao Chen's complexion had become much rosier after an afternoon of recuperation. Although he had yet to fully recover, he was already much better than before. As night fell, Xiao Chun brought his 12 followers and 100 Flower Fairy to the 100 Immortals' house. Due to Huangfu Ao's banquet tonight, the entire 100 Immortals' house had been reserved. Of course, the 10 great kings and the other geniuses were not the only ones participating. Some of the large clans around Five Element City were also participating. Furthermore, these large clans had expended quite a bit of effort in order to participate in this banquet. Being able to get acquainted with the 10 great pride kings and the other geniuses was obviously quite beneficial to these large clans. This was precisely the reason why many clans had brought their young ladies to this banquet. Their motive was self-evident. It would be best if their young ladies could get married to a genius or pride king. After leading the group into the 100 Immortals' house, the other 9 geniuses who had arrived earlier all stood up and smiled when Xiao Chun appeared. Haha, Brother Xiao Chun, you're late again. Last time at the Thousand Island Lake, you were the last to arrive. Today, you are the last to arrive again. The Heavenly Thunder Pride, Wang Lan, laughed loudly. Can't you guys tell? Brother Xiao Chun has a fairy as his companion now, so he's naturally not like us. Huang Gu also joked. Xiao Chun, your ability to pick up girls is truly impressive. As long as the red flag at home doesn't fall, the red flag outside doesn't fall. Compared to the jokes of the others, Ouyang Roshua was a little unhappy. As a woman, Ouyang Roshua probably felt that Xiao Chun was a little too fickle. He already had a wife like Qin Shuru, and now there was another 100 Flower Fairy. Were these two women blind? Whether it was Qin Shuru or 100 Flower Fairy, any one of them was enough to make countless cultivators in the heavenly Chun continent go crazy. But now, both of them had fallen in love with Xiao Chun. Hearing 100 Flower Fairy's unhappy voice, everyone helplessly smiled bitterly. Among the 10 great kings, only Ouyang Roshua was a woman. Similarly, they helplessly smiled bitterly and didn't say anything. They brought 100 Flower Fairy to their seats and sat down. As for their guests, they also had their own seats. The entire 100 Immortals Tower had a total of 2 floors. The first floor was a gigantic hall that was filled with tables and chairs. Everyone was seated in a circle, drinking and chatting, while the 10 supreme geniuses sat on a high platform on the second floor. From here, they could see the entire 100 Immortals Tower in their eyes, giving off a sense of superiority. Now that everyone had arrived, the banquet officially began. Members of the various great clans wandered among the crowd of sky prides, constantly trying to get closer to them. There were even some who openly tried to get married. The atmosphere was very lively, but no one dared to disturb the 10 great kings. Even if members of the various great clans wanted to get acquainted with the 10 great kings, they didn't dare to rashly approach them. After all, the 10 great kings were different from ordinary sky prides. The way they interacted with each other was completely different. For this banquet, the various great clans brought their most beautiful young ladies. At the same time, the beauties of the 100 Immortals Tower also appeared to support them. For a moment, it really felt like 100 flowers were competing to be the most beautiful. However, on this stage where hundreds of flowers were competing to be the most beautiful, there was one flower that stood out without a doubt. Although she sat quietly beside a young man in white from start to finish, many men couldn't help but secretly size her up. This beautiful flower was obviously 100 Flower Fairy. Compared to 100 Flower Fairy, the other girls present paled in comparison. Although 100-Flower Fairy only sat quietly beside Xiao Chun and poured wine for Xiao Chun with a smile on her face, this still couldn't stop the infatuated gazes of many men. Several disciples of large family clans sat together. They had come with their family elders. Of course, given their status, they were clearly not qualified to drink at the same table as so many prodigies, let alone the 10 great prodigies. In this banquet, these arrogant and domineering disciples of large family clans could only sit in a corner. However, they did not complain at all. Sitting together, everyone's gaze was fixed on 100-Flower Fairy, who was wearing a long red dress on the second floor. One of the disciples said with an infatuated expression, "If I can get a smile from 100-Flower Fairy, how good would that be? Even if I die, I'd be willing." Just a smile was enough to make this disciple willing to die. However, after hearing his words, someone beside him immediately laughed. "Save it. Who do you think the 100-Flower Fairy is? I've heard that she doesn't even care for the other kings of prides, and only the king of the demonic sword managed to win her heart. I'm afraid she won't even spare you a glance in this lifetime." "Sigh, forget it. We can forget about a fairy like 100-Flower Fairy. Of course I know that. However, since I'm lucky enough to see 100-Flower Fairy today, I want to see what's going on." The disciples of the various great clans were already infatuated with 100-Flower Fairy. However, they were also very clear that they wouldn't have a chance with a fairy like 100-Flower Fairy. Only a king of pride like Xiao Chun was worthy of a fairy like 100-Flower Fairy. Begging for collection, begging for monthly votes, begging for recommendations. Chapter 243. The 100-Flower Fairy attracted the attention of all the men, while Xiao Chun and the other 10 prided kings attracted the attention of countless women. Compared to the heaven's prides, the 10 prided kings attracted the attention of the young ladies. However, they also knew that with their status, how could they be worthy of the 10 prided kings? Back at the Thousand Island Lake, only the 10 amorous fairies were qualified to sit with the 10 prided kings. Not caring about the gazes of the crowd below, the prided kings sat on the high platform on the second floor, drinking and chatting. Of course, the topic of conversation basically revolved around the 5 elements Tao Palace. Whether it was Xiao Chun or the other prided kings, they all knew about the 5 elements Tao Palace. It was said that the 5 elements Tao Palace was a miracle that was born when the heavenly Qin continent was formed. It was a small world that existed alone, and the heaven and earth within the 5 elements Tao Palace was completely different from the heavenly Qin continent. The heaven and earth spiritual energy was more than 10 times that of the heavenly Qin continent. Moreover, there was a peerless treasure called Tao Intense Seed in the 5 elements Tao Palace, and it was also the most precious thing in the 5 elements Tao Palace. Martial artists could increase their comprehension of the martial Tao by devouring Tao thought seeds. In other words, as long as there were enough Tao thought seeds, martial artists would no longer have any barriers to their breakthroughs. It was a bit like enlightenment. However, devouring Tao thought seeds did not have any side effects. To put it bluntly, Tao thought seeds were the essence of the martial Tao being explained by the heavens and earth. Worshipping the heavens and earth as teacher, there naturally would not be any side effects. Of course, it wasn't a simple matter to obtain a Tao Insight seed. All Tao Insight seeds had the variations of the 5 elements, which were metal, wood, water, fire, and earth. Only by gathering all 5 Tao Insight seeds of different elements could one consume them. This was because the 5 elements reinforced and restrained each other, and none of them could be missing. Furthermore, the seeds of Tao will be hidden in the body of a monster called the spirit-reading ghost in the 5 Tao palaces. These spirit-reading ghosts were cunning by nature and were extremely difficult to kill. Only after killing the spirit-reading ghost could one obtain the seeds of Tao. Generally speaking, the goal of Xiao Chun and the others on this trip to the 5 Elements Palace was to obtain the seeds of the Great Path. As long as there were enough seeds of the Great Path, coupled with the rich spiritual qi in the 5 Elements Palace, it was not impossible for them to directly break through to the next realm. Everyone, it's settled then. Once we enter the 5-elemental Tao Palace, we will be competitors. At that time, there will be nothing wrong with snatching. Huangfu Ao raised his wine cup and said with a smile. The 10 great prides appreciated each other, but in the face of such a great opportunity like the 5-elemental Tao Palace, none of them would give up. Within the 5-elemental Tao Palace, it was normal for them to fight each other. After all, the Tao Intent seed belonged to whoever obtained it. Everyone smiled when they heard Huangfu Ao's words. Huanggu replied in a rough voice, "Of course. Compared to hunting down thought ghosts, I prefer to snatch them from your hands." Haha. Ancient primordial, don't be so full of yourself. Do you know that you'll easily attract hatred like this? Don't go in and get robbed first. Feng Lingya said with a smile. Then let's see what happens in the 5 Elements Tao Palace. This time, it won't be like the Thousand Island Lake where time is up, Lin Nuo said with a smile. With that, everyone drained their cups. Xiaochen also had a faint smile on his face. At the same time, his eyes flashed with excitement. In the 5 Elements Tao Palace, the 10 great prides would definitely do their best for the Tao Intent seed. Just as Lin Nuo said, this time, it wouldn't be like the Thousand Island Lake where time was up. Noticing Xiao Chen smile, Flower Fairy also smiled. As a smart woman, she knew what Xiao Chen was thinking. In the entire heavenly Chen continent, the only thing that could arouse Xiao Chen's interest was probably competing with the 10 great prides. The banquet lasted until late at night. When Xiao Chen and Flower Fairy returned to their residence, it was already midnight. It's getting late. Rest early, Xiao Chen said after sending Flower Fairy to her room. Hearing Xiao Chen's words, Flower Fairy smiled sweetly and said with a gentle voice, "Are you not coming in?" With a sly look in her eyes, Fairy of 100 Flowers pushed the door open and entered the room. Looking at her back, Xiao Chen felt a fire in his heart. She was indeed a seductive fairy. Every frown and smile of hers was enough to steal the soul of any man. Xiao Chen strode into the room and closed the door. Since he had already accepted Fairy of 100 Flowers, there was no need for him to pretend anymore. If he liked her, then he liked her. There was no need for him to pretend to be aloof. Moreover, Xiao Chen never thought of himself as a saint. With a beauty by his side, Xiao Chen didn't want to act like Lu Xiaohui. That night, Xiao Chen truly witnessed Flower Fairy's beauty. At the same time, Flower Fairy occupied an extremely important position in Xiao Chen's heart. After the night passed, Xiao Chen's life returned to normal for the next few days. He used 2 days to adjust his body to peak condition. Moreover, while waiting for the 5 Elements Tao Palace to open, Xiao Chen didn't neglect his cultivation, especially the Tai finger sword and the 3 layers of overlapping waves. During this time, the 10 proud kings would naturally exchange pointers from time to time. Just like that, 5 Elements City returned to normal. 5 days later, the ruler of the 9 firmaments and the tyrant fist ruler arrived. The appearance of the 2 rulers meant that the 5 Elements Tao Palace was about to open. As expected, the 2 rulers announced that the 5 Elements Tao Palace would open at noon the next day. At that time, the 10 proud kings and all the geniuses would immediately enter. Finally, it was about to open. For a moment, Xiao Chen and the others were filled with anticipation. The 5 Elements Tao Palace was a great opportunity for them. If they could grasp it well, they could even break through to the celestial realm in one go. Not only were the 10 proud kings and the geniuses looking forward to it, but the other people in 5 Element City were also looking forward to it. Although they weren't qualified to enter the 5 Elements Tao Palace, that didn't stop them from looking forward to it, because it would be the first time the 10 proud kings would have an all-out battle. After a silent night, the next day, Xiao Chen and his 12 guests prepared to leave. Looking at Flower Fairy in front of him, Xiao Chen smiled and said, "Wait for me to come back." "Okay." Flower Fairy nodded when she heard Xiao Chen. They arrived at the central main hall of the 5 Element City according to the time. This was the entrance to the 5 Elements Palace. After Xiao Chen arrived with his prodigy guests, the other prodigy kings also showed up with their own guests. They waited in the main palace for about 15 minutes. At noon, the ruler of the 9 firmaments and the tyrant fist ruler appeared. Facing the 2 rulers, everyone bowed and said, Greetings, rulers. No need to be overly courteous. The Five Elements Tao Palace is about to open. How much you can benefit from it will depend on yourselves. The Tyrant Fist ruler waved his hand casually. Please add me to your collection. Please recommend me. Chapter 244, said the ruler of the continent of the Nine Clouds. The Tao Palace of the Five Elements is extremely dangerous. So far, the Tianqian continent only knows how to open the Tao Palace of the Five Elements, but we don't know much about it, especially Nian. We know very little about him. The only thing we know for sure about the Nian is that, first, the Nian has a spiritual intelligence, and it's not any weaker than humans. According to our speculations, the Nian is a kind of life form, just like us humans. Second, the seeds of Tao are in the Nian body, but not every Nian has a seed of Tao. Third, the Nian is cruel and cunning. They like to eat people's hearts. Every time the Tao Palace of the Five Elements opens, people die in the Tao Palace of the Five Elements and are eaten by the Nian. According to our speculations, human hearts are extremely beneficial to the Nian, just like how we eat seeds of Tao. Therefore, every time the Tao Palace of the Five Elements opens, it's not just the Tianqian continent's cultivators who kill the Nian, it's also the Nian who kill us humans. Lastly, entering the Five Elemental Tao Palace is equivalent to entering a brand new world. This world has the suppression of the incomplete heavenly Tao, and warriors above the celestial realm are unable to enter. Moreover, during the teleportation process, you will be scattered and randomly appear in any location within the Five Elemental Tao Palace. Therefore, after entering the Five Elemental Tao Palace, I hope that you will find your companions as soon as possible. Before you start fighting amongst yourselves, I hope that you will ensure your own safety and not become food for the Nian. Moreover, no matter what happens within the Five Elemental Tao Palace, you can only rely on yourselves. Nobody can save you. According to the ruler of the continent of the Nine Clouds, even though the Tao Palace of the Five Elements was a great opportunity, it was also extremely dangerous. Besides, once they entered the Tao Palace of the Five Elements, their life and death were up to the heavens. They could only rely on their own strength. The Tianqian continent couldn't protect them anymore. Because of that, the Tao Palace of the Five Elements was much more dangerous. Even though all the people there were geniuses, and if any of them died, it would be a great loss to the Tianqian continent. But on the path of cultivation, if they needed someone to protect them all the time, how could they become strong? Even if he grew up in the end, without experiencing the true tempering of life and death, he would only be a piece of trash, an embroidered pillow that only had looks. Therefore, even though it was fraught with danger, the sovereigns still allowed these geniuses to enter the Five Elements Tao Palace. This was their opportunity and also their training. If they could pass this trial, they believed that everyone would experience a qualitative improvement. When the crowd heard the ruler of the continent of the Nine Clouds, they were astonished, but apart from that, they also looked excited. As geniuses, they weren't afraid of challenges, especially Xiaochun and the other kings of the continent of the Nine Clouds. The ruler of the continent of the Nine Clouds had told them how dangerous the Five Elements Palace was. Because of that, the 10 kings of the continent of the Nine Clouds were even more excited. Seems like we have to change our plan. Let's observe the situation first. If Nian is too strong, I'm afraid we'll have to work together, Guduya said as he looked at Xiaochun and the rest. Initially, they had planned to compete against each other, but now it seemed like they had to observe the situation first. If Nian was too strong, they couldn't fight against each other. Otherwise, they would be courting death. When Xiaochun and the others heard Guduya, they nodded. They also understood that. Let's observe the situation first. The most important thing is to stay alive. If you lose your life, everything else is useless, said Huangfuao. The plan had changed slightly. The ruler of the continent of the Nine Clouds and the Tyrant Fist ruler smiled happily. The 10 kings of the continent of the Nine Clouds hadn't disappointed them. None of the rulers objected to a healthy competition between the 10 prides. However, they would be idiots if they continued to fight amongst themselves in the face of an external enemy. However, it was clear that the 10 prides would not do such a stupid thing. After learning of Nian Gui's strength and terror, they immediately changed their initial plans. Then it's settled. When we enter the 5 Elements Tao Palace, we'll think of a way to gather together. No matter which geniuses we meet on the way, we'll protect them, said Ouyang Roshue. All right, everybody nodded. The 10 kings of the 9 clouds changed their plan again. At the same time, the ruler of the continent of the 9 clouds and the tyrant fist ruler started making hand seals. A gigantic talisman appeared in the middle of the main palace. Blue lights dashed to the sky and turned into a pillar of light. When the pillar of light appeared, the ruler of the continent of the 9 clouds shouted loudly, "The 5 Elements Tao Palace will be open for 3 months. After 3 months, I will open the entrance again. At that time, the people who are still alive will be automatically sent out of the Tao Palace." "All right, hurry up and enter," said the ruler of the 9 clouds. He urged everybody to enter the pillar of light. Obviously, the entrance couldn't be open for a long time. The 10 kings of the 9 clouds took the lead and entered the pillar of light. They quickly disappeared. After everybody entered the pillar of light, the ruler of the continent of the 9 clouds and the tyrant fist ruler stopped what they were doing. The pillar of light disappeared as if it had been a flash in the pan. While the heavenly Chan continent's prodigies were entering the 5 elemental Tao Palace through the entrance, in the incomplete world of the 5 elemental Tao Palace, there was no day or night. There was no sun or moon in the sky. At all times, the sky of the 5 elemental Tao Palace was gray, giving people a very oppressive feeling. In that oppressive world, there were hundreds of tribes, big and small. Those tribes were all made up of spirit-reading ghosts. As the ruler of the continent of the 9 clouds had said, spirit-reading ghosts were as intelligent as humans. Therefore, they had their own set of social rules. Each tribe had a leader who led the spirit-reading ghosts. At that moment, in a small tribe of spirit-reading ghosts, there was a huge wooden hut in the middle. A few ferocious-looking spirit-reading ghosts were seated together. The people from the outside world are going to come here again. This time, we have to steal more hearts. Don't worry, clan leader. We won't fail this time, one of the spirit-reading ghosts said after hearing those words. They also knew that the people from the Tiantian continent were going to enter the Tao Palace. Therefore, the spirit-reading ghosts had already made preparations to kill them. As soon as the spirit-reading ghost finished talking, a beam of light descended from the sky and a young man in white clothes appeared. The young man in white clothes was Xiao Chun, who had just entered the Tao Palace. The ruler of the continent of the 9 clouds had said that when they were teleported, they would appear anywhere in the Tao Palace. Who would have thought that Xiao Chun would appear in the spirit-reading ghost tribe? Please add me to your collection. Please recommend me. Chapter 245. Xiao Chun had been teleported to the lair of the spirit-reading ghosts. Although he had never seen any spirit-reading ghost before, he quickly reacted and cursed in his heart. What bad luck! Although he knew that he would be randomly teleported into the 5 Elements Tao Palace, the randomness was too random. He had not done anything, and he was already surrounded. Wasn't this like a lamb walking into a tiger's den? Xiao Chun sized up the 7 or 8 spirit-reading ghosts. At the same time, the spirit-reading ghosts were also sizing up Xiao Chun. The leader of the spirit-reading ghosts could not help but ask, a human from the heavenly Chun continent. Xiao Chun and the resentful ghosts looked at each other. After a short moment of shock, the leader of the spirit-reading ghosts burst into laughter. Haha, what you wish for comes true. This human has been teleported here. The leader of the spirit-reading ghosts knew that humans from the heavenly Chun continent would be randomly teleported into the 5 Elements Tao Palace. However, he had never heard of being randomly teleported into a spirit-reading tribe. The leader of the spirit-reading ghosts was immediately overjoyed. He did not have to do anything, and a human had fallen from the sky. This was simply sending him to his death. He laughed loudly. Then, The surrounding spirit-reading ghosts stood up and surrounded Xiao Chun. They all looked at Xiao Chun with unfriendly expressions. Their eyes were full of smiles. Being surrounded by the spirit-reading ghosts, Xiao Chun sighed helplessly and muttered to himself, "What is this called? When one is unlucky, one's fart will hit one's heel. Forget it, forget it. Since this is the case, I will accept it." Xiao Chun was helpless in the face of the situation. He had not done anything, and he had already barged into the lair of the spirit-reading ghosts. Looking at the situation, it would be difficult for him to escape without a bloody battle. The storage ring on his hand flashed, and the scarlet edge sword appeared in his hand. Although he was unlucky, Xiao Chun would not give up easily. Since that was the case, he could only fight his way out. Seeing that Xiao Chun had taken out his weapon, the 7 or 8 spirit-reading ghosts sneered, and a dense black aura spread out from their bodies. Unlike spiritual energy, the black aura that the spirit-reading ghosts emitted was filled with chilling intent. The black aura was something that they were born with. "Human, I can only say that you are unlucky. But don't worry, since you are so miserable, I will let you die a quick death." The leader of the spirit-reading ghosts sneered as he stared at Xiao Chun. The 7 or 8 spirit-reading ghosts immediately rushed toward Xiao Chun after hearing their leader's order. Xiao Chun did not dare to be careless, as it was his first time fighting against a spirit-reading ghost. He swung the crimson edge sword in his hand and immediately engaged the 7 or 8 spirit-reading ghosts. The battle was intense. Following the terrifying shockwaves of the battle, the wooden house was soon shattered. At the same time, the battle attracted even more resentful ghosts. After the wooden house had completely collapsed, Xiao Chun realized that he was in a tribe of spirit-reading ghosts. There were as many as 50 spirit-reading ghosts in the tribe. Being surrounded by 50 spirit-reading ghosts might seem like a large number, but it was only a tribe made up of 50 spirit-reading ghosts. Xiao Chun's luck was not bad. A spirit-reading ghost tribe of this size could only be considered the weakest in the 5 elemental Dao Palace. Some of the larger spirit-reading ghost tribes even had thousands of spirit-reading ghosts. If Xiao Chun had appeared in such a tribe, he would not have stood a chance. "Human, there is actually a human. Haha, he must be an unlucky person who was teleported here." Xiao Chun's appearance attracted the attention of all the spirit-reading ghosts in the tribe. They surrounded Xiao Chun. Some spirit-reading ghosts burst into laughter. They all thought that Xiao Chun was an unlucky person. Xiao Chun calmed down when he heard those spirit-reading ghosts' mockery. At first, he didn't know how strong the spirit-reading ghosts were, but after interacting with them, Xiao Chun realized that the strongest spirit-reading ghost in this tribe was only at the Earth Mirror layer. Xiao Chun was relieved. According to the ruler of the continent of the 9 clouds, the strongest spirit-reading ghosts in the 5 elemental Dao Palace could reach the peak of the celestial being layer. If he had been surrounded by 50 spirit-reading ghosts who had reached the peak of the celestial being layer, Xiao Chun would have thought of a way to escape. However, the reality was that the spirit-reading ghosts surrounding him were only at the Earth Mirror layer and the mysterious origin layer. They were too weak. They didn't have enough strength to surround him. He had thought that he was unlucky, but now it seemed that he had found a treasure. A faint smile appeared on his face as he swept his gaze across the group of spirit-reader ghosts. There were 50 of them, but he did not know if there were any seeds of Dao in their bodies. Xiao Chun was supposed to be the prey, but now he had become the hunter. The spirit-reading ghosts didn't know that. They were still dreaming about capturing Xiao Chun and obtaining his heart. "Human, surrender. You can only blame yourself for being unlucky. You're going to die as soon as you come here." Haha, this little boy is scared out of his wits. He's really unlucky. He just entered the 5 elemental Dao Palace, and he's already in a desperate situation. "Human, surrender. Don't fight back. You won't be able to escape today." Xiao Chun smiled when he heard the cries of the mind-reading ghosts. There was not the slightest hint of panic in his eyes. On the contrary, he put on an excited expression, as if he had just seen a treasure. Xiao Chun chuckled as he scanned the group of spirit-reader ghosts. "Who's the hunter And who's the hunted? The random teleportation sent me here. I have to say, you guys are really unlucky. I'm very lucky to have encountered so many spirit reader ghosts right from the start. Looks like I'll have a lot to gain. Xiao Chun had a 180-degree change in his mentality after understanding the overall strength of the spirit-reading ghost tribe. He thought that he was unlucky, but now Xiao Chun felt that he was really lucky to have appeared in such a weak spirit-reading ghost tribe. The spirit-reading ghost tribe was built in a valley. Looking at the surroundings, the valley should be very hidden. If he hadn't been sent here by coincidence, Xiao Chun wouldn't have been able to find the spirit-reading ghost tribe. He could kill 50 spirit-reading ghosts effortlessly. Although he didn't know how many seeds of spirit-reading ghosts he could get, he thought that it would be a good harvest. Was Xiao Chun lucky or unlucky to have such a great harvest right after entering the 5 elemental Dao Palace? The spirit-reading ghosts were enraged when they heard Xiao Chun. The leader even shouted coldly, "Human, you're courting death. Kill him and dig out his heart." Begging to be collected, begging for monthly votes, begging for recommendations. Chapter 246. Xiao Chun was surrounded by his own tribe's spirit reader ghosts, but he was not afraid at all. Instead, he looked excited. It was as if Xiao Chun saw his tribe's spirit reader ghosts as prey. The leader of the spirit reader ghosts shouted angrily. Upon hearing his command, the surrounding spirit reader ghosts immediately attacked Xiao Chun. The 7 or 8 spirit reader ghosts took the lead. They were obviously the strongest in the tribe, second only to the leader. Their strength was comparable to human earth mirror experts. Facing the attack of the spirit reader ghosts, Xiao Chun swung his Scarlet Heaven sword and executed the first level of the triple-layered waves, 100-layered waves. As an upper-grade Earth-level martial arts technique, the 3 layers of overlapping waves was extremely powerful. Even though it was only the first layer, the 100-layered waves, Xiao Chun's sword was already imbued with immense power. Many of the spirit-reading ghosts felt as if they were witnessing a gigantic wave crashing toward them. 2 of the 7 or 8 spirit-reading ghosts were killed by Xiao Chun with a single slash of his sword. The remaining 3 spirit-reading ghosts were also severely injured. In Xiao Chun's opinion, the strength of the spirit reader tribe was indeed too weak. There was not even a single spirit reader ghost who was comparable to a celestial being in the entire tribe. It was a joke to think that a group of Earth Mirror and Mysterious Aeon Realm spirit reader ghosts could kill him. With one slash, Xiao Chun killed 2 spirit reader ghosts in an instant. Seeing this, the rest of the spirit reader ghosts were shocked. The spirit reader ghosts were cruel and cunning, but they were not stupid. Xiao Chun's slash had undoubtedly demonstrated his powerful combat strength. Such combat strength made the spirit reader ghosts' scalps tingle. Damn it! Even the leader of the spirit reader ghosts cursed. He had underestimated Xiao Chun. Without hesitation, the leader of the spirit reader ghosts joined the battle. Without stopping, Xiao Chun did not show any mercy to the spirit reader ghosts. In the eyes of humans, the spirit reader ghosts in the 5 elemental Dao Palace were opportunities. Only by killing them could one obtain the seeds of Dao Will. Of course, the same applied to the spirit reader ghosts. In the eyes of the spirit reader ghosts, the humans of the heavenly Chun continent were also opportunities. By killing them and obtaining the hearts of humans, the spirit reader ghosts could obtain immeasurable benefits. After a chaotic battle, the scariest part of the spirit reader ghosts was their pair of sharp claws. Not only were they extremely hard, they were not weaker than earth weapons. They could easily cut open a person's stomach. Furthermore, the claws of the leader of the spirit reader ghosts were extremely corrosive. Once it came into contact with the claws, it would be like being burned by a raging fire. The skin and flesh would instantly turn into thick water. They could not simply come into contact with the claws of the spirit-reading ghosts. However, as long as they could avoid the claws of the spirit-reading ghosts, they would not be much of a threat. It was easier said than done. The speed of the spirit-reading ghosts was very fast. In Xiaoqian's opinion, the speed of the leader of the spirit-reading ghosts was not any slower than that of a peerless genius. Xiaoqian, on the other hand, was only a spirit-reading ghost that was equivalent to an earth mirror cultivator. It was hard to imagine how fast the spirit-reading ghosts, which were comparable to celestial realm cultivators, would be, and whether their claws would undergo any other changes. The spirit reader ghosts were not to be underestimated. Even Xiaoqian had to be careful when dealing with them. Fortunately, the strength of the spirit reader ghosts was not strong, so it was not too difficult for Xiaoqian to deal with them. One by one, the spirit reader ghosts were killed by Xiaoqian. The spirit reader ghosts of the mysterious Ian realm could not do anything to Xiaoqian. Basically, as long as they were targeted by Xiaoqian, they would die without a doubt. The fierce battle at the beginning had turned into a one-sided massacre in the end. Xiaoqian had single-handedly slaughtered the entire spirit reader tribe. The ferocious and cunning spirit reader ghosts were now screaming miserably under Xiaoqian's sword. It was not that they had not dealt with humans from the heavenly Chun continent before. After all, humans from the heavenly Chun continent would come to the 5 elemental Tao Palace every few years. However, they had never seen a human as ferocious as Xiaoqian. If the spirit reader ghosts were ferocious, then Xiaoqian was tyrannical. He had killed the entire tribe of spirit reader ghosts with one sword. Human, stop. Stop. I'll let you go. Stop. Seeing the spirit reader ghosts of his tribe being killed one by one, the leader of the spirit reader ghosts could no longer bear it. He had been injured in the previous battle. His left arm had been cut off by Xiaoqian's sword. At this moment, he could not care less about his injury. He shouted at Xiaoqian. He had thought that Xiaoqian's appearance was like a pie falling from the sky. He thought that he could obtain a human heart without any effort. However, who would have thought that it was not a pie that fell from the sky, but a fiend? In less than an hour, his tribe had already lost more than half of its spirit beasts. If this continued, Xiaoqian would completely annihilate their entire tribe. He was so frightened that he lost all will to fight. He chose to let Xiaoqian go. He could not afford to offend such a malefic person. However, Xiaoqian did not stop after hearing what the leader of the spirit-reading ghost said. He killed another spirit-reading ghost with his sword and said calmly, "Let me go. I don't need your permission to leave. However, before I leave, I would like to harvest more Tao Force seeds." Now, he was letting him go? What a joke. It was rare to encounter such an opportunity. How could Xiaoqian not harvest more Tao Force seeds? Seeing that Xiaoqian had no intention of leaving, the leader of the spirit reader ghosts panicked. Seeing his tribesmen fall one by one, the leader of the spirit reader ghosts felt dizzy. He kept muttering, "It's over. It's over. It's all over." A fiend had fallen from the sky. This was simply an unexpected disaster. Just as the leader of the spirit reader ghosts was feeling hopeless, a seemingly smart spirit reader ghost came to his side and said solemnly, "Leader, why don't we surrender?" "Surrender? Didn't you see that I have already surrendered? However, this malefic is clearly trying to kill us all." Upon hearing the words of the ghost-reading demon, the leader of the ghost-reading demon shouted coldly. Although they had already surrendered, Xiaoqian had no intention of letting them go. Hearing this, the spirit reader ghost whispered into the leader's ear, "Leader, have you forgotten? The last time a human entered, he taught us how to surrender. He said that if we meet a human from the heavenly Chun continent in the future, we only need to do this, and we will definitely succeed." Hearing this, the leader of the spirit reader ghost's eyes lit up. With this reminder, he recalled that when the 5 elements Tao Palace opened, a human from the heavenly Chun continent broke into their tribe. After a fierce battle, the spirit reader ghost could not do anything to the human. However, the human did not kill them all. He even taught the leader of the spirit reader ghost a method. He said that if they met a human from the heavenly Chun continent in the future, as long as they did this, they would definitely bury the hatchet and the human would not attack them again. Begging for your collection, begging for monthly votes, begging for recommendations. Chapter 247. With his subordinate's reminder, Ghost Annihilation recalled the method that the human had taught him the last time he entered the 5-elemental Tao Palace. He had never used it before, so he didn't know if it would work. However, in the current situation, Ghost Annihilation clearly didn't have much time to hesitate. He gritted his teeth and immediately followed the human's instructions. The leader of the ghost chanters bent his knees and knelt on the ground. He took a deep breath and shouted in Xiaoqian's direction, "Father, please spare my life. Father, spare my life?" Xiaoqian, who was in the midst of a fierce battle with the Niangui, staggered when he heard the angry roar. He looked at the leader of the Niangui with a strange expression. What was going on? Why was his father asking for mercy in the middle of the fight? Could it be that these mind-reading ghosts were so smart? "You can't win, so you kneel down and call me daddy?" This was the first time he had encountered such a situation. When he saw that Xiaoqian had indeed stopped after he called him father, he was overjoyed and immediately yelled at the surviving tribesmen, "Kneel down, quickly kneel down." Under the orders of the leader of the spirit-reading ghosts, the remaining 10 or so spirit-reading ghosts knelt before Xiaoqian. Then, under the lead of the spirit-reading ghosts, the spirit-reading ghosts shouted continuously, "Father, spare me, spare me, spare me." Xiaoqian was a little confused when he saw these ghost readers kneeling on the ground and calling him daddy. They had already called him daddy, so it was a little difficult for him to make a move. This was the first time Xiaoqian had encountered such a situation. He stood rooted to the ground, dumbfounded. He was also rendered speechless by these mind readers. They were fighting to the death just a second ago, and the next second they were all kneeling down and calling him daddy. This was just two. Furthermore, what Xiaoqian found most unacceptable was that these mind-reading ghosts seemed to be getting more and more fluent in calling out the word father in unison. Xiaoqian didn't know that the ghost-reading ghosts didn't know what the word father meant. Unlike humans, the ghost-reading ghosts didn't have the concept of parents. They were only born because of the 5-elemental Tao Palace. Therefore, the ghost-reading ghosts didn't know the meaning of the word father at all. To them, calling out the word father was a sign of admitting defeat, and this was taught to them by a human. He wondered who taught these spirit-reading ghosts to kneel down and call him father when they couldn't defeat him. This person was definitely a genius. Their voices were uniform. Moreover, when they saw that Xiaoqian really did not continue to attack, the spirit readers were overjoyed. They shouted even louder. Moreover, as they shouted for their father to spare their lives, they revealed expressions of joy and gratitude. Finally, the fiend had stopped. It seemed that the human didn't lie to them last time. Shouting "Father, spare my life" was really useful. They screamed for their father to spare their lives, but in the end, it was Xiaoqian who told them to shut up. Only then did they stop. Xiaoqian walked over to the leader of the spirit-reading ghosts speechlessly. Seeing that Xiaoqian had walked over, the leader of the spirit-reading ghosts was shocked. He instinctively knelt down and shouted, "Father, please spare my life. Shut up." Xiaoqian immediately shouted when he saw that the leader of the spirit-reading ghosts was about to shout again. Xiaoqian's battle intent slowly subsided after being interrupted by the spirit-reading ghosts. He felt a little helpless. After some questioning, Xiaoqian found out that the phrase "father to spare their lives" was taught to them by a human from the heavenly Qin continent. He said that if they met a human that they couldn't defeat, as long as they shouted the word "father," they would be able to turn the situation around. Xiaoqian didn't expect that this was taught to the spirit-reading ghosts by a human. Hearing this, the corner of his mouth twitched. What a genius. This guy was definitely a genius. In the end, Xiaoqian didn't go on a killing spree. After some discussion, the leader of the spirit-reading ghosts chose to surrender and was willing to follow Xiaoqian everywhere. Thinking about it, it would be a good choice to have a group of loyal spirit-reading ghosts as his subordinates in the 5-Tao Palace. After all, they would definitely know more about the 5-Tao Palace. Moreover, he could send them out to look for other people. This would save Xiaoqian a lot of trouble. After accepting the leader of the spirit-reading ghost surrender, Xiaoqian did an inventory. He had killed a total of 43 spirit-reading ghosts. However, he only obtained 5 Tao thought seeds. Fortunately, Xiao Chan obtained 5 Tao thought seeds of the 5 elements. There was 1 seed of each element: metal, wood, water, fire, and earth. They were thumb-sized and looked like seeds. However, they emitted a faint white light. 43 spirit-reading ghosts, but only 5 Tao thought seeds. This probability was too low. Moreover, these 5 Tao thought seeds all came from the spirit-reading ghosts that were comparable to the Earth mirror. In other words, it was impossible for a thought ghost below the Earth mirror to possess a seed of Tao will. Only after reaching the Earth mirror would a thought ghost body contain a seed of Tao will. As for a thought ghost at the celestial realm, the probability was higher. Sai, it seems that I don't have to consider the spirit-reading ghosts below the Earth mirror anymore. I can only obtain Tao thought seeds by killing the spirit-reading ghosts above the Earth mirror. Xiao Chun sighed helplessly and murmured softly. Just as Xiao Chun put away the 5 Tao thought seeds, the leader of the spirit-reading ghost stepped forward respectfully and said, "Father, the room is ready." Since he had subdued the spirit-reading ghost tribe, Xiao Chun planned to use it as a base to slowly search for the prodigies who had entered the 5 elemental Tao palace with him. However, when he heard the leader of the spirit-reading ghosts call him father, Xiao Chun said unhappily, "You're not allowed to call me father in the future. Do you understand?" It was unknown if these spirit-reading ghosts had a screw loose. After seeing that their father had spared their lives, they stubbornly believed that the word father was magical. As long as they met a human from the heavenly Chan continent, no matter what the situation was, they could resolve it with just the word father. Therefore, even though Xiao Chun had already let them off, they still insisted on calling Xiao Chun father. "Yes, father," the leader of the spirit-reading ghost replied respectfully when he heard Xiao Chun shout. He was completely speechless. No matter what he said, these guys had no intention of changing their words. Helpless, Xiao Chun walked directly to the wooden house that had been arranged for him. This wooden house originally belonged to the leader of the spirit-reading ghosts, but now it had become Xiao Chun's residence. Xiao Chun wanted to test the effects of the Tao thought seeds. He walked quickly to the room with anticipation. However, wherever he passed, the spirit-reading ghosts would stop what they were doing and respectfully call out to Xiao Chun when they saw him. "Father." Under the respectful greetings, Xiao Chun walked into the wooden house with a speechless expression. Once he closed the door, it was finally quiet. He sat down cross-legged and took out the 5 Tao thought seeds. He smiled and said, "Let me see if these Tao thought seeds are really that magical." He couldn't wait to test the effects of the Tao thought seeds. With that, Xiao Chun swallowed the 5 Tao thought seeds. Begging for collection, begging for monthly votes, begging for recommendations. Chapter 248. He swallowed the seed of the way in one gulp. At first, he did not feel anything, but soon he found that his body was completely unable to move. At the same time, his soul seemed to have left his body and began to wander in the endless starry sky. Xiao Chun could not control his body, and at the same time, his soul had left his body. Of course, this feeling was very comfortable, and one would not want to resist it. It was as if he was on a spiritual journey, wandering in the endless starry sky. While he was wandering in the starry sky, it was as if there was a voice constantly teaching him in his ears, explaining to him all kinds of martial arts cultivation. It was a very wonderful feeling. There was obviously no one around, but he could really feel that there was a teacher teaching him. In this state, Xiao Qin's comprehension of martial arts was constantly increasing. This was the so-called imparting of the heavenly way. It was true that one could obtain the imparting of the heavenly way by swallowing the seed. It was as if a lonely boat was drifting in the endless starry sky. His soul seemed to be wrapped in the vast knowledge of martial arts. In such an environment, it was difficult not to improve. He did not know how much time had passed. Anyway, Xiao Chun felt that it had been at least a month. However, when Xiao Chun came back to his senses, the seed that Xiao Chun had swallowed had been completely refined and absorbed. He slowly opened his eyes. In reality, Only 2 hours had passed. Xiao Chun felt that he had spent at least a month on the mental journey to the Great Void. However, the truth was that only 2 hours had passed since Xiao Chun had swallowed the seed of will. It was simply too magical. This seed was simply too magical. If it were not for the fact that this seed could not be brought out of the five elements Tao Palace, there would be many people in the Tianshan continent who could rely on this seed to break through the shackles of many years. Taking a deep breath, Xiao Chun was very satisfied with the effect of the seed. However, there was one thing that he was worried about. When absorbing and refining the seed, he was completely defenseless. If he encountered any danger during this period, he would not be able to fight back. Therefore, in order to refine the seed, he needed a trustworthy person to protect him. Otherwise, it would be too dangerous. After all, this was the five elements Tao Palace, the world of the mind-reading ghosts. In such an environment, it was obvious that he could not put himself in such a dangerous situation. After refining these five seeds, Xiao Chun also realized that he could not be too casual when refining the seed in the future. He must have a trustworthy person to protect him. The situation just now was actually very dangerous. If the mind-reading ghosts had any evil intentions, Xiao Chun could only be slaughtered. Fortunately, it was a daunting experience without danger. There were no more seeds on him, not a single one. Immediately, Xiao Chun began to try to cultivate. The spiritual energy in the five elements Tao Palace was known to be more than 10 times that of the Tianshan continent. This was something that Xiao Chun felt when he first entered the five elements Tao Palace. The spiritual energy of heaven and earth in this world was indeed extremely rich. It was not any weaker than the cultivation treasures of the Tianshan continent. When he tried to cultivate, it was as if his body had turned into a black hole, crazily devouring the spiritual energy of heaven and earth around him. In just half an hour, Xiao Chun felt that his cultivation had improved a lot. At least, it was comparable to 3 days of cultivation in the Tianshan continent. Half an hour was comparable to 3 days in the Tianshan continent. What kind of concept was this? He was very satisfied. Then, Xiao Chun called for the mind-reading ghost leader. Upon receiving Xiao Chun's call, the mind-reading ghost leader quickly rushed over. As soon as he entered, he knelt down before Xiao Chun and shouted loudly, "Father!" Hearing this, the corner of Xiao Chun's mouth unconsciously twitched. To be called father by an ugly mind-reading ghost, how could he describe this feeling? It was just uncomfortable. Duo Fu, do you know the situation in this area? Knowing that the mind-reading ghost leader's name was Duo Fu, Xiao Chun asked him about the situation in this area. Facing Xiao Chun's question, Duo Fu did not hide anything. According to him, this area was actually at the edge of the five elements Tao Palace. There were 28 mind-reading ghost tribes, but the ruler was a tribe called the Night Eclipse Tribe. The Nocturnal Eclipse Tribe was the strongest ghost reader tribe in this area. It was said that there were hundreds of celestial realm ghost readers in the Nocturnal Eclipse Tribe. There were thousands of ghost readers in the entire tribe. Furthermore, the leader of the Nocturnal Eclipse Tribe had 1 foot in the Ghost King realm. This was the first time Xiao Chun had heard of Ghost King. With Duo Fu's explanation, Xiao Chun quickly understood that the Ghost King was a mind-reading ghost that had surpassed the heaven realm. It was equivalent to a human Tao querying realm warrior, so it was called a Ghost King. In the five elements Tao Palace, the Ghost King was the strongest resentful ghost. In the entire five elements Tao Palace, the number of Ghost Kings would not exceed the number of fingers on one hand. Below the Ghost Kings were the half-step Ghost Kings like the leader of the Night Eclipse Tribe. After roughly understanding the situation in this area, Xiao Chun pondered for a moment and decided to look for the heavenly Chun continent's prodigies first. Then, Xiao Chun ordered Duo Fu to send people out to search for humans. After hearing Xiao Chun's order, Duo Fu respectfully complied and left the wooden house. After Duo Fu left, Xiao Chun began to ponder. There were 28 mind-reading ghost tribes in this area, and Duo Fu's tribe was the weakest among the 28 tribes. However, There were a few tribes that were similar in strength to the Duo Fu tribe, and none of them had a Heaven Realm mind-reading ghost. For the time being, Shao Chun did not plan to provoke the Night Eclipse tribe. After all, there was a half-step Ghost King there, and it would be dangerous for him to go alone. Since that was the case, he might as well start with the weaker tribes. The task of searching for humans was handed over to Duo Fu and the rest. Shao Chun prepared to continue hunting mind-reading ghosts. After all, he had too few Dao thought seeds. From Duo Fu, Shao Chun found out that the nearest mind-reading ghost tribe was only slightly stronger than the Duo Fu tribe. There were 15 Earth Realm mind-reading ghosts in the tribe, and the rest were below the Earth Realm mind-reading ghost. The entire tribe only had about 100 mind-reading ghosts. Such strength was naturally not a problem for Shao Chun. However, there were only 15 Earth Realm mind-reading ghosts, which left Shao Chun speechless. After all, Dao thought seeds could only be found in mind-reading ghosts that were above the Earth Realm mind-reading ghost. He was a little disappointed, but there was nothing he could do. After all, he could only take one step at a time. On the same day, Shao Chun left the Duo Fu tribe and began his hunting journey in the Five Elements Palace. Chapter 249. According to Duo Fu, the tribe was called the Sang Ping tribe. The leader of the tribe was called Sang Ping. He was slightly stronger than Duo Fu, but not by much. Shao Chun only took a little more than 2 hours to reach the Sang Ping tribe from the Duo Fu tribe. The distance between the two tribes wasn't too far. In other words, the Five Elemental Daoist Palace wasn't that big. It wasn't even as big as the Danyang region. The Sang Ping tribe was located in a dense forest. It was surrounded by towering ancient trees. Furthermore, the trees in the Five Elemental Daoist Palace were different from those in the Tianqian continent. The trunks were as hard as black iron, and the leaves were as sharp as blades. As a result, the ancient trees became a natural barrier for the Sang Ping tribe. The intelligence of the thought ghosts wasn't weak. They were very particular about the location of the tribe. The Duo Fu tribe was built in a hidden valley, while the Sang Ping tribe was built in a dense forest with the ancient trees as a natural barrier. After secretly observing the Sang Ping tribe for a while, Shao Chun decided to take action after confirming that the strength of the Sang Ping tribe was as Duo Fu had described. With his strength, there was no need for a sneak attack. Therefore, Shao Chun swaggered into the Sang Ping tribe. As soon as he arrived outside the Sang Ping tribe, the thought ghosts of the Sang Ping tribe noticed Shao Chun. They were stunned at first, but they soon sneered. Haha, human, we're really lucky today. We actually met a human who walked right into our trap. Similar to the reaction of the Duo Fu tribe, the thought ghosts of the Sang Ping tribe were extremely excited when they saw Shao Chun. Soon, the thought ghosts of the Sang Ping tribe surrounded Shao Chun, led by their leader, Sang Ping. There were close to 100 thought ghosts. 15 of them were comparable to the Earth Mirror level. Shao Chun didn't waste any time. The storage ring on his hand flashed, and the scarlet edge sword appeared in his hand. He slashed out with the 100-layered waves and killed an Earth Mirror level thought ghost in front of him. It was a one-hit kill. However, Shao Chun shook his head in disappointment. This spirit-reading ghost actually didn't have a Dao intent seed in its body. This wasn't a good start. Sang Ping's face darkened when he saw that Shao Chun had killed a spirit-reading ghost that was comparable to an Earth Mirror in a single strike. He shouted coldly, "This brat is strong. Let's kill him together." The fat leader, Sang Ping, could tell at a glance that Shao Chun was strong and did not dare to be careless. He immediately ordered the spirit-reading ghosts to surround and kill Shao Chun. At the same time, he took the lead and attacked Shao Chun. In the face of the Sang Ping's spirit-reading ghosts, the long sword in Shao Chun's hand let out a sword hum. Then, the entire battlefield was instantly enveloped by sword chi. Sword light filled the sky, and the spirit-reading ghost screams could be heard. Since Shao Chun dared to come alone, he naturally had complete confidence. Moreover, Shao Chun's target was very clear. He only targeted the 15 spirit-reading ghosts of the Earth mirror level. This was because the spirit-reading ghosts below the Earth mirror level couldn't possibly have a Tao intense seed in their bodies. Therefore, it didn't matter to Xiao Qian whether he killed them or not. Xiao Qian's target had been the 15 spirit-reading ghosts at Earth mirror level since the beginning of the battle. In less than a quarter of an hour, 3 spirit-reading ghosts had already died under Xiao Qian's sword. Sadly, the 3 spirit-reading ghosts did not even leave a single seed. It seemed that the seeds of the will of Xiao Qian really depended on his face. Feeling frustrated, Xiao Qian's attacks became more and more ruthless. There were 15 spirit-reading ghosts at the Earth mirror level today. It was impossible that he would not get a single seed of the will of Xiao Qian. Damn it, how is this human so strong? Sang Ping couldn't help but curse as he watched Xiao Qian slaughtering the spirit-reading ghosts one after another. Xiao Qian ignored Sang Ping's curses and continued his attacks. Finally, after killing the 5th spirit-reading ghost, Xiao Qian obtained his first Tao intense seed. It was an Earth attribute Tao intense seed. Without hesitation, Xiao Qian reached out and grabbed the Tao intense seed into his ring. As though he was extremely lucky, Xiao Qian obtained Tao intense seeds from the 6th, 7th, and 8th spirit-reading ghosts. However, it was a pity that all 4 Tao intense seeds were of the Earth attribute and couldn't be refined. The massacre continued. After Xiao Qian killed 12 spirit-reading ghosts of the Earth mirror level and dozens of spirit-reading ghosts of the mysterious Aeon level, Sang Ping was completely dumbfounded. How could this human be so strong? He was on a completely different level compared to those humans from before. A human with a single sword could actually annihilate an entire spirit-reading tribe. This was something that rarely happened before. Without giving Sang Ping a chance, Xiao Qian killed him with his dragon spring sword finger. At this point, all 15 spirit-reading ghosts of the Earth mirror level were dead, and Xiao Qian obtained 8 Tao intense seeds. However, it was a pity that unlike the previous time, the 8 Tao intense seeds that Xiao Qian obtained weren't of the 5 elements. 5 of them were of the Earth attribute, 2 of them were of the water attribute, and 1 of them was of the metal attribute. As a result, even though Xiao Qian possessed 8 Tao intense seeds, he couldn't refine them. Xiao Qian didn't attack because he had already killed all the spirit-reading ghosts of the Sang Ping tribe. The remaining spirit-reading ghosts of the mysterious Aeon level were of no use to him. Similarly, seeing that Xiao Qian didn't attack, the remaining spirit-reading ghosts of the mysterious Aeon level began to retreat unconsciously. They looked at Xiao Qian with eyes full of fear. This human was simply a devil. In less than 2 hours, he had slaughtered the Sang Ping tribe's leader and the experts of the Sang Ping tribe. With such strength, the surviving spirit-reading ghosts couldn't muster any fighting spirit. They thought that Xiao Qian was going to kill them all and kept retreating. In the end, one of the spirit-reading ghosts suddenly knelt on the ground and shouted, "Father, please spare me." This cry of "Father, please spare me" sounded so familiar to Xiao Qian. He looked at the kneeling spirit-reading ghost with a strange expression. Did the spirit-reading ghosts of the Sang Ping tribe also know this move? The familiar scene appeared again. The spirit-reading ghosts knelt in front of Xiao Qian and shouted for mercy. Xiao Qian was speechless. He really didn't know who taught these spirit-reading ghosts this phrase. He didn't attack again. After all, it didn't matter if he killed these spirit-reading ghosts of the mysterious Aeon level. They couldn't possibly have Tao seeds in their bodies. He walked away and watched Xiao Qian's back as he gradually disappeared into the forest. Only then did the surviving spirit-reading ghosts heave a sigh of relief. This human was really too terrifying. However, "Father, please spare me" was indeed useful. Didn't Xiao Qian stop attacking after he shouted? For a moment, the spirit-reading ghosts of the Sang Ping tribe believed in their father's words of "Father, please spare me." They were determined to kneel and beg for mercy if they met any powerful human in the future. Chapter 250. After killing all the Earth mirror-reading ghosts, Xiao Qian left in satisfaction. Not long after Xiaochen left, another human arrived outside the Sangping tribe. This person was dressed in black and was the peerless genius of the Mu clan, Mu Feng. Mu Feng was also sent to this area, but his luck was obviously better than Xiaochen's. He was not sent directly to the nest of the reading ghosts. After exploring the forest for an entire day, Mu Feng finally arrived at the outskirts of the Sangping tribe. He had never come into contact with a ghost reading tribe before. When Mu Feng realized that he had unintentionally entered a ghost reading tribe, his face immediately darkened. Mu Feng was not the king of geniuses. He was merely a peerless genius. Although his combat strength was extraordinary and could be said to be invincible among those of the same cultivation level, he would not be able to do so as easily as Xiaochen if he was surrounded by the Nian ghosts. In fact, if the Sangping tribe was at its peak, it was entirely possible for them to surround and kill Mu Feng. After all, only the king of geniuses could easily defeat 15 Earth mirror-level Nian ghosts. He wanted to retreat, but he was too late. More than 20 reading ghosts had already rushed out. Mu Feng's heart sank when he saw the appearance of these reading ghosts. However, just like Mu Feng, it had been less than an hour since Xiaochen left. The reading ghosts of the Sangping tribe also felt their scalps go numb when they saw another human. If Mu Feng had appeared before Xiaochen, the reading ghosts of the Sangping tribe would not have hesitated to kill him. Fortunately, Mu Feng only appeared after Xiaochen left. The Sangping tribe could be said to have been completely destroyed by Xiaochen. They did not have the slightest intention to fight against a human. Mu Feng did not know what had happened in the Sangping tribe. Faced with these 20 mind-reading ghosts, he was stunned at the beginning. Then he steeled his heart and immediately took out his earth weapon, shouting loudly, "Come on, you bunch of bastards. Today, I will fight it out with you." As a peerless genius, Mu Feng was obviously not that weak. Even though he had unintentionally barged into the lair of Nian Gui, Mu Feng had no intention of giving up. Since he was going to die anyway, he naturally had to give it his all. Mu Feng was prepared for a bloody battle. But what he didn't expect was that after he let out a bellow, more than 20 spirit-reading ghosts knelt on the ground and shouted, "Father, please spare us." What was going on? Kneeling down and calling him daddy before the fight even started? Mu Feng was stunned by the actions of the spirit-reading ghosts. He had never come into contact with a spirit-reading ghost before, so he was completely dumbfounded. He thought that this was a ploy by the spirit-reading ghosts to lower his guard, and then take the opportunity to launch a sneak attack. After all, everyone knew that the spirit-reading ghosts were cunning and cruel by nature. Mu Feng concluded that these mind-reading ghosts were doing this on purpose to numb him. He glared at them and shouted coldly, "This kind of scheme is despicable. Not to mention calling me father. Even if you call me grandfather, I won't fall for it. Die." As soon as he finished speaking, Mu Feng no longer hesitated. He made the first move and attacked the group of mind-reading ghosts. With Mu Feng's strength, facing a group of spirit-reading ghosts who were only at the mystic Ian realm was naturally not a big problem. After a bloody battle, Mu Feng slaughtered the spirit-reading ghosts one by one. These spirit-reading ghosts in the Sangping tribe probably couldn't figure out until they died. Their father's mercy worked well against Xiaochen, so why didn't it work against Mu Feng? After completely slaughtering the spirit-reading ghosts in the Sangping tribe, Mu Feng didn't get any Dao seeds. He had no choice. The spirit-reading ghosts he killed were all at the mystic Ian realm, so it was impossible for them to have Dao seeds. Feeling a little disappointed, Mu Feng then searched the Sangping tribe again. In the end, he didn't find anything and had to leave helplessly. Xiaochen had no idea that Mu Feng was so close to him. For the next few days, he spent the rest of his time hunting the mind ghosts, except for spending 2 hours each day cultivating. Over the past 2 days, Xiaochen had wiped out another 2 tribes of weaker chanting ghosts. Like before, he only killed the chanting ghosts who were at the level of Earth Mirror. Similarly, after being scared out of their wits by Xiaochen, these chanting ghosts would kneel and beg for mercy. Xiaochen was already used to these spirit-reading ghosts' actions. In his opinion, when the Five Elements Taoist Palace opened last time, there must have been a lunatic in the heavenly Chun continent who spread the word that as long as they met humans, they would be able to resolve their grudges by begging for mercy. However, these spirit-reading ghosts believed it. After wiping out 2 ghost-reading tribes in a row, Xiao Chun now had 18 Dao seeds in his possession. At the same time, Xiao Chun had also successfully collected the second set of Dao seeds of the 5 elements. Of course, most of them had the same attributes. It had only been 3 days since he entered the 5 Elements Taoist Palace, but his harvest was pretty good. The only thing that made Xiao Chun feel a little helpless was that it had been 3 days, but he still hadn't found a single human supreme talent. He didn't even know where they had been transported to. Feeling a little anxious, Xiao Chun repeatedly urged Duo Fu to increase the effort of searching for humans. Just as Xiao Chun was anxiously searching for humans, Mu Feng, who wasn't far from Xiao Chun, had passed by 2 other spirit-reading tribes. Coincidentally, these 2 spirit-reading tribes had been massacred by Xiao Chun. When Mu Feng appeared, the spirit-reading tribes of these 2 tribes didn't have any intention of resisting. They immediately knelt down and begged for mercy. Starting from the Sang Ping tribe, Mu Feng had encountered 3 spirit-reading tribes. However, when these spirit-reading tribes saw him, they didn't hesitate to beg for mercy. This made Mu Feng very surprised. However, although he was surprised, Mu Feng didn't show any mercy. He shouted coldly, "Mercy, father? Humph! Even if you call me grandfather today, you will still die." Mu Feng didn't stop because of the words father. He was like Xiao Chen's tail. After Xiao Chun ransacked these 3 spirit-reading tribes, Mu Feng appeared again and killed them all. However, Mu Feng didn't get a single Dao 4 seed after ransacking these 3 spirit-reading tribes. This was because all the Dao 4 seeds had been taken away by Xiao Chun. After massacring these 3 spirit-reading tribes, the spirit-reading ghosts of the Duo Fu tribe finally found Mu Feng. However, they didn't appear directly because they saw with their own eyes that Mu Feng didn't seem to care about their father's mercy. Even if they begged for mercy, they would still be killed by him. Father's mercy doesn't work on this human. One of the spirit-reading ghosts of the Duo Fu tribe asked doubtfully, "I think I heard this human call you grandfather. Could it be that he doesn't want father to spare his life, but rather grandfather to spare his life?" Fearing that they would be killed by Mu Feng, the 2 spirit-reading ghosts of the Duofu tribe did not show themselves directly. After some discussion, they decided that one of them would follow Mu Feng while the other would send the news back to the tribe and let the chief make the decision. Chapter 251. Mu Feng's confidence was boosted after wiping out 3 ghost-reading tribes in a row. He sneered as he continued on his journey. "These ghost-reading ghosts aren't as scary as my cousin described. Every time we meet, they would kneel down and beg for mercy. They only know how to resort to such despicable means. They are completely fearless." The cousin that Mu Feng was referring to was naturally Bloodwood prodigy King Mu He. After wiping out 3 ghost-reading tribes in a row, Mu Feng's fear of the ghost-reading ghosts had lessened significantly. In Mu Feng's opinion, these ghost-reading ghosts who only knew how to kneel down and beg for mercy were nothing more than ants. It had to be said that some things in this world were just so coincidental. Mu Feng had been in the 5 Elements Palace for a few days, and the psyche ghosts he had encountered were all psyche ghosts that had been scared out of their wits by Xiao Chun. These psyche ghosts had lost their will to fight against humans, which was why they would cry for mercy. If Mu Feng had encountered a psyche ghost from another tribe, he probably wouldn't have cried for mercy. It was a pity that Mu Feng had completely believed that the psyche ghosts were like that, and would only cry for mercy when they met to numb him. Mu Feng felt emboldened and felt that he should be able to do whatever he wanted in the 5 Elemental Dao Palace. The only pity was that he didn't obtain a single Dao 4 seed after killing nearly 100 mind-reading ghosts. His luck was really bad. He thought that he was too unlucky to not get a Dao seed. However, Mufong didn't know that the reason why he didn't get a dowel seed had nothing to do with luck. It was because the ghost reading tribes that he had encountered had all been killed by Shao Chun. As such, it was naturally impossible for him to get a dowel seed. Mufong walked through the forest with his head held high. The current Mufong obviously wouldn't back down when he encountered a ghost reading tribe. This was because the ghost reading tribe didn't pose any threat to him at all. At the same time, in the Duofu tribe, Duofu received a report that they had found a human. However, this human was a little strange. He didn't like to be a father, but liked to be a grandfather. Therefore, Duofu's subordinates didn't dare to approach him rashly, for fear of being killed by this human. The human that Duofu's subordinates were talking about was obviously Mufong. Even now, there was still a spirit reader from the Duofu tribe following Mufong in secret. When Duofu received this news, he immediately reported it to Shao Chun. After hearing Duofu's report, Shao Chun said with a strange expression, "What? You like being a grandfather?" Shao Chun didn't know that this person was Mufong, but when he heard Duofu say that this was a person who liked being a grandfather, Shao Chun was secretly amused. A person who liked being a grandfather. However, being able to find a human prodigy was indeed a good thing. Immediately, Shao Chun asked Duofu to send someone to confirm Mu Feng's current location, and then he would go personally. Shao Chun was naturally concerned that he had finally found someone from the heavenly Chun continent. After hearing Shao Chun's words, Duofu also immediately sent someone to confirm Mu Feng's current location. Just as Shao Chun was preparing to go to Mu Feng's aid, Mufong, on the other hand, had arrived at a small plain after half a day's journey. Seeing that Mufong had actually entered the plain, the ghost reading tribe that had been secretly following Mufong had a drastic change of expression. It stood outside the plain and hesitated for a while, but ultimately it didn't dare to take a single step into the plain. This was because the plain was where the Night Eclipse tribe was located. As the most powerful ghost reading tribe in this area, the Night Eclipse tribe's strength was terrifying. Not only was their leader a ghost king half step away, but there were also hundreds of ghost reading tribes in the celestial realm. Not daring to continue following him, the ghost reading tribe finally turned back to the tribe. It was prepared to inform Shao Chun of this matter and let Shao Chun make the decision himself. Unaware that he had entered the Night Eclipse tribe's territory, Mufong was still secretly anticipating whether the next ghost reading tribe he encountered would have a Dao Thought seed. God bless me. The next time I meet a ghost reading tribe, I must have a Dao Thought seed. Just as he was praying in his heart, Mufong saw a large ghost reading tribe from afar. It looked like a simple city with wooden fences protecting it. Inside, densely packed wooden houses were scattered all over the place. This was the Night Eclipse tribe. Its scale was many times larger than the other ghost reading tribes. However, Mufong was not nervous at all in the face of such a terrifying ghost reading tribe. A smile appeared on his face as he shouted, "Ghost reading tribe, your grandpa Mu is here." It was as if he had seen a piece of juicy meat. Thinking that it was another group of ferocious-looking ghost reading tribe, they knelt before him and begged for mercy. Then, they started a massacre. Mufong rushed towards the Night Eclipse tribe excitedly. At the same time, dozens of ghost reading tribe guards outside the Night Eclipse tribe also saw a human rushing towards them excitedly. For a moment, these ghost reading tribe guards were confused by Mufong. What was going on? Was this human crazy? He was alone. Not only did he not run when he saw the ghost reading tribe, he even rushed over excitedly. "Leader, this human is a little abnormal." An Earth Mirror reading ghost looked at the tall ghost reading tribe leader and said, calling this spirit reader ghost captain was indeed true. This spirit reader ghost was very different from the other spirit reader ghosts in terms of appearance. First of all, his body was much bigger. He was almost 3 meters tall. The muscles on his body were also very strong, especially his pair of sharp claws, which had started to turn from green to black. Just by looking at his appearance, one could tell that this ghost reading tribe was very strong. This ghost reading tribe of the celestial realm had terrifying strength. It was not an exaggeration to say that if a celestial realm human and a ghost reading tribe of the celestial realm were to fight, the human would have no chance of winning. Of course, this was excluding the Sky Prides and King of Prides. However, even Sky Prides could only guarantee that they would not be defeated in the same realm. If they wanted to defeat a ghost reading tribe of the celestial realm, perhaps only the 10 King of Prides could do it. In the Night Eclipse tribe, the ghost reading tribe leaders were all in the celestial realm. Hearing his subordinate's words, the leader looked at Mu Feng, who was running towards him with a puzzled look. Under the watchful eyes of this group of ghost reading tribe members, Mu Feng quickly arrived outside the Night Eclipse tribe. He looked at this group of ghost reading tribe members excitedly. He did not notice that the expressions of these ghost reading tribe members were different from the ghost reading tribe members from the other 3 tribes. Mu Feng shouted loudly, "Your Grandpa Mu is here. Hurry up and kneel down and beg your father for mercy." You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.